Howdy, y'all, and welcome. I am Professor Parks, PhD, and this is yet another impromptu stream where I am doing an imaging run here at the George Mason Observatory, and I decided, hey, why not share it with the world? I have been at this for probably 2, 3 hours at this point, maybe 2.5 hours. The reason why I didn't go live before was that there was a connection issue with dialing into our control computer. So I was basically working from up there, but thankfully that issue has apparently resolved itself. So without further ado, I am going to. There's what we are doing. If you have seen the last couple of streams that I've done with with the observatory, you will know what that object is. That is Messier 11, the wild duck cluster. It is an open cluster with few hundred, maybe 1,000 members. I haven't really confirmed that number, but it is extraordinarily compact for an open cluster. Typical open clusters, in my experience, are many tens of arc minutes in size or degrees in size. And so they are difficult to capture with our field of view. And so when I found this, I was like, you know what? I am going to give it a good old college try to make a really pretty image out of this. And so what I've been doing is I've been collecting data over the last few nights with the purpose of combining all of that data together to get basically a very nice deep image. The longer you expose the camera to an object, the more light you get, the more detail that you can see, and the better the color balance is going to be in the end, assuming you can get it right. And so that's basically what I'm doing right now. I'm going to be keeping at, if you, in the bottom or over here, you can see that is the camera control window. And if you can read real well, this is image 15 of 30. And I've already taken some images of M11 earlier tonight. Like I said, couldn't show them because of connection issues. But I have already taken a few, so this is going to be the last set of these images. I also last night, or not last night, but maybe the night before, I also started taking observations of a particular Cepheid variable with the idea of turning the data into a lab, or at least using that as a proof of concept so that a lab can be created. I would essentially what I want to do is I want to create something where students can replicate the period luminosity relationship. One of the things that I really want to do in my career is I'd like to come up with a series of labs that, if not perform the same type of experiment, they will at least verify historic astronomical observations or experiments, such as the Eratosthenes experiment. I'd like to develop a lab where students or anyone really can do that and be able to determine for example, the radius of the Earth to a reasonably good accuracy. And I know I have a friend, some friends of the channel and content creators, I Can Science That and MC Toon, have both done so on their channel. So I'm probably going to reach out to them and find out if we could sit down and basically codify that into a lab so that people can have that and they can do that experiment on their own and basically figure out, hey, what did you do this weekend? I determined the shape of the Earth, that sort of thing. And so this is along that line, is to be able to do this. Another idea that I have is to determine the distance of the sun based on archival Venus transit data. That's going to be a little bit more tricky because you need data from two separate locations for the same transit event. And I don't know if I have yet to be able to find that. If anyone watching this does know where I can find photographic or digital images showing the Venusian transit, the same one as seen from two separate locations, then that can be used to show a geometric proof, or not proof. You can use geometry in order to determine the distance to the sun. Speaking of the sun and distances, there's actually a very simple way to determine the ratio between the distance of the sun and the size of the sun. So if you know one, then you can get the other. Or you can keep it as a ratio, and basically, if you have a question as to, how far away is the sun or how large the sun is, you can do a fairly simple experiment to at least get their proportions. So if you assume that the sun is, say, 3,000 kilometers up, that would mean that the sun has to be this size, or this linear size, based on this fairly simple idea. And just in brief, what it is you would point a pinhole camera directly at the sun, and then that will cause an image of the sun to be projected onto a screen. And you move the two screens together until you find where that image is most crisp, where essentially the view is most in focus. And at that point, the ratio of the image of the sun on that screen to the distance to the pinhole camera, that ratio is exactly equal to the ratio of the linear sun to its distance from the Earth. There are some minor caveats, but for the errors associated with that sort of experiment, things like atmospheric refraction and other variables like that really aren't going to play much of a factor in determining it. So it definitely gives you a very, very good back of the envelope estimation as to the ratio between size and solar size and solar distance. So yeah, that's basically what I'm going to be doing. And for the life of me, I cannot remember which Cepheid I chose, but I have records, so I'm going to find out. All right. MM per. So apparently I chose MM per. All right. Well, good to know. I will deal with that later. All right. I think I've also fixed, or at least improved this has got to be a B image. I've improved an issue we had with the focus, where it seemed to be a little bit more out of focus up here than it was down here. And what I discovered today was that the telescope, the CCD camera, when it was attached to the telescope, actually had a little bit of a give or a rock to it. And so I just put it flush, tightened it down, and that seemed to be doing the trick. But I also installed something known as CCD Inspector, which a friend of mine, Bob, recommended, and I did a little bit of analysis on it. It requires me to give it particular factors like the plate scale, the pixel sizes, and such like that, which I don't know right off the top of my head. I need to look into that. Actually, I'm doing a lab. I have data to find that out very specifically. So once I have that, I will do a more proper analysis of the CCD inspector. But it is still showing me a little bit of field curvature, which I'm a little bit concerned about. So hopefully I can figure out, I can quantify what that curvature is, and I can then track down where it is and fix it. Oh, howdy, Judy. So as I was saying at the beginning, I had some connection issues. Well, really, the control room had some connection issues, and I just randomly checked, and hey, resolved itself somehow, and so now I am streaming for giggles. And as you can see, we're doing M11, the wild duck. We have about 13 more images, depending on the time. I'd like to start doing another. I'd like to hit another object before I go into the Cepheid, because with the Cepheid variable, the period is so long that I only need a handful of observations for tonight. So I don't know. I want some more pretty images to play with, so I might try to find something else to look at and image. So who knows? It's getting to the point where the semester is starting, and the chances of my being able to just take over the telescope and image anything that I want, those days are coming to a close. But hopefully we are starting, as I may have mentioned before, a process via which we can apply for time. And I'm hoping to be able to do that and really have a much more rigid schedule, so that it's not just random like tonight, for example. So I did get something in the mail, which a lovely supporter of the channel, I used their money to buy eclipse glasses. Let's see, I can't see, so there you go. Woo! Yes. To remind everyone, there is going to be an eclipse, at least in North America, on October 14th. And we will be doing something here. I'm currently in the stages of planning it. And I'm going to give a talk on eclipses, and we're going to be showing demonstrations, to scale demonstrations of how eclipses work, and so forth. And so now I am armed with eclipse glasses to hand out to the students so they can view the eclipse safely and stylishly. So thank you to that supporter. I think they know who they are. All right, I'm going to take these off because I literally can't see through them, which is kind of the point. These block out almost, I can't remember the exact percentage, but it's something like 99.9% of the light. If the only thing you would be able to see through these glasses would be, in fact, the sun, because it would be the only thing bright enough to actually put for you to see. But yeah, you can, trust me, you can't, nothing. But if I were to look at the sun, I could do so safely, which is cool, not just from an eclipse perspective, but it also, because you may have heard, the sun is currently going through a very active region, or active period. So at the moment, there are a lot of flares. There are coronal mass ejections. There are prominences, and there are sunspots. So besides the threat of being disrupted by a highly energetic solar event, it's very pretty. You get a lot of star spots. You get a lot of active regions. So it's really, really pretty to look at. And with these suckers, I can just go outside and stare at it without having to worry about it burning my retinas to pieces. So, now that I can see, David, howdy. Run Z Cow says Einstein's relativity is a joke. Thoughts? Okay. I don't know who Zhe Xiao is, but I can assure you that that general relativity is not a joke. It is very well tested and is yet to be falsified, in the sense that any of its predictions have been proven to be wrong. There are problems. There are things. There's a caveat to that, in that there are things that relativity currently cannot explain well, and So we are still investigating other options. And if there is an option out there that can explain everything that relativity can explain, and it can also explain these other problems that relativity can't, such as uh, things things that are very very small moving very very quickly, or the dark energy problem. Then if you can correct that, if it can do that, then we will supplant general relativity. There's a video of him falsifying it in many different ways. Um, let me write down this person's? I'm assuming Jay Chow is a YouTuber of some sort. Oh, and always, if anyone has any questions, I am always free to. I am always happy to answer them. Yes, it's a YouTube video. So, is Zay Chow? If I'm pronouncing that right. Is that where I can find him on YouTube, or does he have a different YouTube name? Because I'd be curious to know um, what his video is, or which phenomenon seems to be falsifying it. Mm. Where is it? Where is it? I hate having dirty glasses. I don't know why. I just find them to be very, very annoying. So, all right, cool. I think I'm going to risk it. I hate sitting in silence. Damn demons in my head always wanting to chat. So I'm going to risk getting a copyright strike, and I am going to put on some music. Dun, dun, dun. Name of the video is Einstein's Relativity is Wrong. All right, I could probably do that. All right. I don't know whether or not that music is coming through. Hopefully, it's not too much of a distraction. Hopefully, you can all still hear the dulcet tones of my voice well. I'm not finding that video with that name, so YouTube is failing on my search for that. Finding a lot of videos about is he wrong? One by Dr. Becky. I'm not finding that particular video. Dun, 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 dun. Maniac Miner. All right, let's check that out. Oh, here we go. Oh, actually, I think I. Hold on a second. Oh, no, it's right there. Hearts 1-3. Um, okay, yeah, I found it. Run Jay Shao. I will definitely watch this. Yeah, this looks actually pretty. Actually, looks pretty in depth. Okay. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I will like I said, I'll definitely look into it. It's a crazy long video. Yeah, it's well, the one I've got is an hour long. So that's going to take me a bit to dive into. Um, does he propose an alternative theory to general relativity, or did he just say it was, or was he just simply pointing out where it was wrong? Oh, 3 hours. Well, I may be only looking at part one. The description doesn't show multiple parts. Well, go to his channel, their channel, the channel. Okay. It's got some interesting videos on their channel. Da, da, da. Was that a Santos video? That is a Santos video. Two Santos videos. Okay. A little. All right. Yeah. The only video I'm seeing, it says parts one space three. It's only an hour long. So, um, I'm assuming he's mirroring this from somewhere else. But once I watch the video, I'm sure I could track down the original source. I will say that. Yeah, I will say that. I don't know what your feelings um, on that content creator is, but I saw that they at least have two videos by Santos, whatever his name is, and I got to say that Santos is a vile human being, and I am not. I I do not understand why anyone would take him seriously. Um, but I don't like I said I don't want to judge anyone or anything, except for Santos. I don't want to judge Santos. That isn't what I view to be right. But holy crow, does he make it really hard for me not to? And I'm looking at clouds. I'm probably looking at clouds. That kind of sucks. What do we got here? Weird that it's like a switch to us around. It's not a hard line, but it's a pretty definitive break. If this were a cloud moving through, I would have thought that would have been more of a gradient. Um, it kind of looks like something was there and then something wasn't there. Dome? Maybe. Well, let's see what the dome's doing. I did not follow my own procedure, mainly because I wasn't doing this from home. Not turn on. Oh shoot. Okay, I'm not looking at this any much for much longer. That is really, really low on the horizon. And also kind of looks like there's fog. No fog. It's definitely low on the horizon. Um, so reason why I think Santos was vile is because in out of one side of his mouth, he refers to himself as a spiritual man. He professes to know the secrets of the universe and peace, love, and all that. And then on the other side of his mouth, he is very, very quick to um, call people horrendous things that who disagree with him. He is not a person who is rational in any way. But the vile part of it is he has the audacity to say that he is a man of God or a man of spirit, and then on the other side, I won't use the terms that he uses, but he is foul mouthed uh, foul mouthed would be a polite way of saying it. I believe he has um, he's wished death on people, things of that nature. So yeah, he's just not a pleasant individual, and he really should be deplatformed. I don't say that a lot about a lot of folks. I'm not really into the whole censorship bit, but he has so much hate coming off of his channel that and misinformation coming off of his channel that yeah, I would not cry tear if he were to be platformed. Hmm. Yeah, I have a very dim view of censorship in general, but yeah, I have a very dim view of censorship. Although in certain cases, I do think that it's warranted. At least there needs to be regulation. Like, for example, uh, child exploitation in any way needs to be censored, in my opinion. So, oh, I think Santos is a highly intelligent individual, or at least very clever. He knows. Judy, I do not think that I would be inviting Santos on one of my streams. I would consider it if if he came to me or somehow found out. I'm not going to offer him an invitation, but if he would like to speak to me on stream somewhere, I wouldn't say no. I would not say. I would at least give him an opportunity to have a rational conversation about science and religion. Um, so, speaking of which, I will be sometimes sooner rather than later. I will be having a chat, one-on-one chat on my channel with Jim Waterworld. He's been sending me uh, DMs on Discord periodically. We're going to be the main question I have for him is that his assertion is that the heliocentric model is in fact Satanism or akin to Satanism. And as a man of God, I kind of have a problem with that statement. So, yeah, I'm very curious as to know. I'm very curious to speak with him to find out why it is he holds that belief. What is it about the heliocentric system that is in fact evil? Because I don't tend to throw around that name lightly. It has a very strict definition for me. Um, so, so yeah. Let's see what else we got. So, oh, you know what? I'm not even paying attention to what I'm doing anymore. You go away. You go away. Oh, hey, it's back ish. Um, wow. Do I even want this data? It's really low on the sky. Um, what is the altitude? I am looking through 2.86 air mass. Woo! To quote a certain wrestler, my altitude is 20 degrees. All right. I'll go down to 15. I'll push it to 15, but no more than that. Definitely no more than that. I might go to M13 is too small, too low, or it's getting too low. Can I do Andromeda? Yeah. Eh, M39, M33. What's M33? Actually, no. I want to do. Oh, you think that ah, you feel that heliocentric system is satanic? Please, can you elaborate? 33. Triangulum galaxy. Yep, doing that next. Sweetums. Yep, triangulum. Oops. Nope. Actually, you know what? I've got a full set. I don't think this is just going to get worse. So that's going to make my entire data set crud. Crud. So I am going to M33, the Triangulum Galaxy. Watching it go. Um, Clear Outside. No, I haven't used that. Is that an app or a website? Currently, what I'm using is an app that I had initially thought was really, really cool, and then it turned out that it wasn't exactly accurate. Um, it is, it's called Night Shift. And so it actually gives me a live view or a live satellite image of my location. But it also says there's 100% or 0% cloud cover. But if at I look at the satellite image, their definition of 0% and my definition of 0% are not quite the same. But yeah, that's what I use. I used to use clear, dark, dark, sky clock, dark sky clock. I think it is. But they have become. I don't know what happened, but they have become much more inaccurate than I than I would like. Um, um, Heliocentrism is not sun worship. Uh, Astronomers do not worship anything. Well, science doesn't worship it. So, as I said, I'm a man of God. I do not worship the sun. But I am pretty convinced that we are living in a heliocentric universe. David, I do. I do. Clear out sky. Check it out. Always looking for more weather tools. That's the one. Postcode. Come on. I love it. I put in my postcode and it gives me the right answer. And then the next answers are Brazil or de Janeiro. Like, I'm not even close to there. I would like to be close to there because I've heard Rio is really cool. But Crescent. Interesting. Well, I can say that I am impressed with this. I don't know about the accuracy, but I'm impressed with this because it actually covers the altitudes of clouds. So thank you, Judy. I will be bookmarking that thing. That I think is, and I'm going to be sharing that with my colleagues here. I believe that the Bible is the inspired word of God. I do not take the Bible literally in any real way. Um, okay, I think that's good. All right. Are we there? Let me take my patented 10-second exposure in V to see if I am, in fact, anywhere near my destination. Oh, I don't see anything. Woo! Yeah, that's so you all know what I'm looking at. Um, I wouldn't be surprised because it's meteorology and nothing is going to be 100% accurate. But the more information, I'm impressed with the amount of information it has on the site. Like I said, dark sky clock was kind of my go-to. That seemed to be the most actually accurate or The measurements seem to be the measurements seem to be well taken. I don't know what I'm talking about. It seemed to be more professional, I guess, more specific, because it gave, and unlike weather.com or what have you, it seemed to be more in depth in its analysis. And yeah, when I was an undergrad or when I was a graduate student, and in the 2000s and 2010s, it seemed to be accurate. But over the last, say, 5, 6 years, I'd say the accuracy has gone way, way down. So yeah, I think I am in fact looking at the triangulum. I think this brightish glow or brighter glow here, I think in fact is the galaxy. Which means I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna up my game. I'm gonna go up to 60. So 60 seconds. Do I have? We have a good image of a good image of kill that. There we go. What was I looking for? Oh yeah. Okay, we got the Eagle, we got Cocoon, we got Caldwell 5. Yep, we have an image. I wouldn't say that it's very good, so definitely gonna. Hey, yeah, it's there ish. Oops, wrong one. There we go. Hey, howdy, Dan. What's up? What brings you to my neck of the woods? Uh, Firmament divide them. God made the firmament, divided the waters from which the firmament, and from the waters which are from all. Yes, yes, I'm aware. Um, I look at that as allegorical. It is. It shows that God was consciously behind his own creation. He was the one who created the skies. He was the one who created heaven, space, separate from the earth that we know. He created the waters, different from the land. He created man, different from the beasts. Yeah, I believe. For me, that's all an allegorical picture to show that it is a intelligent design. Not that I subscribe to intelligent design, but that's basically what I'm looking. Feeling a bit spaced out. Well, hey, I think I know what you did there, and this is a great place to be for being spaced out. I am looking at the Triangulum Galaxy at the moment. Believe it or not, this is the core of the galaxy. I think I might see a spiral arm here. I'm not sure. The Triangulum Galaxy is one of the major galaxies in the local group. Let me go up to 3 minutes and see what happens. And again, if the background music is in the way, please. Oh, hey Norm. Precisely, Jenny. Precisely. For me, it is a moral text. It is how I know it is. It inspires me. Inspires my way of how I deal with folks and how I deal with myself. And that's In a nutshell, that's what it is. My science text, on the other hand, I do not go to those for moral support. I do not go to them for moral guidance. I go to them for having a to have a better physical understanding of how the universe works. Data is hard to absorb without seeing a lab coat. Um, well, see, the thing is, astronomers, we don't use lab coats. Yeah, I don't think a single branch of astronomy uses lab coats. Most physicists don't either, actually. Don't you think you have to believe it that way because it contradicts your scientific beliefs? Um, do you Are you saying that I have to believe that the Bible is allegorical because it is contracting or because it is contradicting my scientific beliefs? Not, not really. I mean, yes, it is. In a literal interpretation, it does contradict science. But that's not really why I looked at it allegorically. I had to look at it allegorically because um, Christ's word do not match with God's behavior in the Old Testament. There is no way to reconcile um, the, the love that we should have for one another with the genocide that was being perpetuated by Jews under God's law, God's command to the peoples around him. I understand why it was done in a way, but if I were to take a literal interpretation of it, I could not reconcile Christ's teachings with that. So, exactly. I could not hold the idea of a loving, just God with a God that would command others to kill children in His name. I could not have that in my head if I believed that was literal history. Oh, all right. My audio is breaking up. Uh, all right. I will turn off the music. Uh, yeah, a lot of the Bible is a big book. Um, Getting distracted. All right, so there's wow, that looks kind of. I can see why we don't have a very good image of the triangulum. Wow, that is just not good. Oh wait, you kind of see some structure down here. Okay, all right. Let me see if I can adjust that position, get it centered. Where do I want to go with this? I want to go there. Jog. I think left is left, up is down. 1, 2. Uh, 2. Why it takes so long to move 1 arc minute? Beyond me. Actually, that should be plenty of time. Try that again. How's my audio now, Judy? Oh, sweet. Might be because of the back or the Paganini I was having in the background. So as I was saying, the Triangulum Galaxy, so we have the local group. We have what is known as a local group of galaxies, which is approximately 24. Really, it's three. You have the Milky Way, our own galaxy. You have the Andromeda Galaxy, and then you have the Triangulum, all of whom are spiral galaxies. Uh, kind of, I would almost say traditional spiral galaxies in the sense that they're all roughly the same size. They all contain about a few 100 billion stars. I know Andromeda is larger than the Milky Way galaxy. I'm not certain about Triangulum. I don't know if Triangulum is more or less than the Milky Way. I don't know if it's more or less than Andromeda. I suspect Andromeda is the biggest galaxy in our solar system, or in our local group. The other galaxies, otherwise known as satellite galaxies, all orbit around. They orbit around one of the big three, and then the big three then orbit around with their satellite galaxies all around one center of one Berry center. It might sound simple, but is in fact fairly chaotic. When you're talking about 24 bodies, granted, 3 of them are far more massive than the others, you're still talking about a fairly chaotic system. But they're all gravitationally bound. And so that is why that distinguishes it as a group, is that all of these galaxies are all going around effectively a common center of mass. And then that group is part of more groups, and all of those groups are gravitationally bound and are part of the Virgo cluster. And then it goes off from there. But the Triangulum seems to me to be a bit what we call flocculent. I know that's probably not what I know. Certain images probably come to mind, but no, that doesn't mean it's not. I would say that it's not gassy, but actually it does have gas. What it means is that these spiral arms are less defined in that galaxy than they are if you were to take a top-down view of the Milky Way, and if you were to take a top-down view of the Andromeda Galaxy. As it happens, the Andromeda Galaxy spiral arms aren't all that visible because we kind of see it edge on. And so, hey, well, that moved to the right. Dare I go up? I dare. I mean, these are large galaxies. Like, for example, let me go back. The Andromeda Galaxy would not fit on this field of view. Actually, I've been trying. I have the data. I just haven't had the time to do so. I would need to. I did a 2x2 mosaic. So basically, it's 4 times larger than the field of view of this camera, which is roughly a full moon. So it's definitely a degree in size on the sky. It is immense if you were to actually see all of it, which even with our camera is still kind of hard to do, particularly in this sky. Triangulum, as you can see, is pretty much the same size as our field of view. So, floaty bits, yes, I believe that is the technical term. Jeff, how you doing? Howdy, Steamy Cup of Reason. I don't know why I'm spacey, but haven't seen you in a too long a time actually. I'm okay. I'm hanging in there, I guess. My semester starts next week on Monday, and I am this close to being prepared. I have one more syllabus that I need to tweak and get posted. I can hopefully do that tomorrow. And then then it's really just I don't know. I got plenty of work to do. I got plenty of work to do. Let's see. I can describe what an arc minute is, but I want to quickly look at this. When none of us really understand God's reason for it, it seems to me that you want God's reasoning to conform to your own moral worldview, much like I do. Not to really get into that, but no, I would disagree with that statement. My moral worldview comes from Christ's words, and I then extrapolate that worldview to the entire book, and so that is where my dissidence comes from. That is what pointed me to taking the book of God, or the Word of God, is allegorical. Plus the fact that Christ himself never spoke plainly, or very, very rarely spoke plainly. Almost everything he had to teach was in parable form. So why should the Bible itself be any different? But anyway, but yes, let's move on from talking biblically. I will answer this. Can I describe an arc minute? Yes. So it is an angular. It is a unit of angular size. So let's take a clock, for example. A clock has 360 degrees. If you go from the top all the way around, that's 360 degrees. So if you were to break that up into 360 segments, equal size segments, that is in fact a degree. If you were then to take that degree and split that into 60 equal segments, each of those segments would be is an arc minute. And if you took that arc minute and you were to split that into 60 equal segments, then that one of those segments would be considered an arc second, and then you can go further on to milliseconds or milli-arc seconds, micro arc seconds, so forth and so on. So it is a unit of measure, that is a unit of angular measure on the sky, at least for astronomical purposes. That's what it is. In a sec, just to finish this off. So the example that I like to give is, hey, I think that's dead center. Anyone? You else think that's dead center? Yeah, that's dead center. Let's see if I can. That is not what I. That really isn't what I wanted. Moon. All right, that'll work. Actually, the example that I give is, let me do this in R. So you take the full moon. The full moon is half a degree in size. It's or 30 arc minutes in size. It has the special, what's the word I'm looking for? It's sort of the coincidental nature that it is roughly the same angular size as the sun, which is half a degree. So 30 arc minutes. So if you want to know how big or how large an arc minute is on the sky, as projected onto the sky, you take the sun, take the moon, and you split it into 30 equal slices. And the width of one of those slices is in fact an arc minute. What is impressive to me is that Tycho Brahe, who was the pretty much the last premier astronomer prior to Galileo. And what I mean by astronomer is someone who looks at the sky and takes measurements. He was the last one to do so before Galileo. He could accurately determine the positions of things to 1 arc minute precision using meridian instruments, not using telescopes whatsoever. He had an amazingly stable, accurate instruments. He had an extraordinary eye. And what's even more extraordinary, which I don't think anyone really talks about, is that his timekeeping devices were phenomenal. He would not be able to do what he did without having a good clock of some sort. Probably a water clock, if I had to make a guess. But anyway, sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear. I know that you've been kind of not really streaming as much on Saturdays. I really do want to pop in one of these days, but my schedule just hasn't really. Um, my schedule really hasn't allowed it. I am more nocturnal, so you go on pretty much an hour or two after I go to bed recently. So yeah. Anyway, all right. Dark matter in 30 seconds. All right, I can do this. Through various observations of galactic rotation and galactic movement, we have seen that the speeds of those objects move far quicker than the amount of matter we perceive would dictate via either classical mechanics or general relativity. That means that there has to be matter that is not seen, that will create a larger gravitational effect, which will create a larger acceleration and thus a larger velocity. And that unseen matter is what we generally classify as dark matter. Damn it, that was 40 seconds. Hopefully that was clear, though. And thank you. And you were all obviously always welcome here. So there you go. This is in R. This is the same exposure time, 3 minutes. This is what the sky looks like, or the Triangulum Galaxy looks like in R. For giggles, I'm going to show you what it looks like in B. I'm going to temper your expectations because it doesn't look that great. But this is one of the things that I'm hoping to be able to do at some point with some of the earlier data I took maybe 2-3 days ago, is to have an example of what the sky, how an object can change its appearance based on simply looking at it in a different color. Instead of looking at it in green, we look at it in red. We keep everything else identical. The exposure time, obviously we're using the same camera, same telescope, and so forth. So anytime. I only have one monitor, so I can see it from here. So I don't know. When I open up the screen to look at the telescope control system, it blocks out the comments. So you know what I can do? I can do this because I am smarter than the average monkey, average bear, average whatever. Now I can see my workspace and the comments. Woohoo! So astronomical twilight is to 4:50. So I've got roughly 2 hours. All right, I'll take it. I don't think I'm going to see I don't know. Yeah, let's take an hour of this. Hour of observations on the Triangulum, and then I can squeeze in some Cepheid stuff. Yeah. Don't insult bears. Did I insult bears? I love bears. Bears are awesome. I would never insult bears. Flotsam and jetsam. All right. Service. Oh, whoops. Ocean service. .NOAA. Gov. That one. Go fact. Fact. So yeah, there's what it looks like in blue. So not exactly. But what's really okay? Apparently, I didn't type that in right. But what's really kind of cool though is what does obviously the kind of the disky part of technical term, the disky part of the galaxy isn't really there anymore, or is not nearly as prevalent as it was in the R image. But you can see more sort of point-like structures. And that disky part is dust, which predominantly is colder, and so it is redder. Hence why you can see it better in the red than you can in blue. Whereas these discrete pockets, like that one, maybe that one, although that's probably a star, these up here, those are all star forming regions, which are going to be blue because they are illuminated by their brightest members, which are going to be the blue O and B type stars that form first. So I am going to do this. All right. I'm going to go for gold. Hopefully, my tracking will work out. 2 hours, so I'm going to do 5 of each. 5. 2 hours, 10 minutes. Sweet. Oh man, my darks are going to be long. All right, anyway, I don't care. I don't care. I'm going to do it. Mm-hmm. No one can stop me. There we go. You can ask any question you'd like. And that goes for anybody. Anyone can ask me any kind of other question. I often, during public events, in public outreach, I will occasionally prop up a sign that says, "I am an astronomer, ask me anything." And they'll be like, "Anything?" I'm like, "Yes, anything." I may not be able to answer it, but I will certainly try. Flotsam Jetsam. Did I misspell flotsam? I did. I misspelled flotsam. What are flotsam and jetsam? Odds and ends. Okay. Not sure what that has to do with the triangular galaxy, but I'll take it. So, yeah, people are getting pretty excited about Betelgeuse. So Betelgeuse, if you're not familiar with it, is the upper left star of Orion. One of his left shoulder, I guess, from your perspective. It should appear notably orange or red in the sky. It is one of the few stars that I think majority of people can tell is not white or blue. It is, in fact, a red supergiant. It is immense. It is the only, to give you an idea, it is the only star other than the sun that has been imaged by a single dish telescope. So Hubble partially resolved the surface of Betelgeuse. No other telescope, even the ones down here, have been able to do that. It is in the end stages of its life. It is in part what we call the asymptotic giant branch. It has burned. It has gone through multiple stages of nuclear burning. It started very much like the sun, where it turned It fused hydrogen into helium. It then ran out of helium in the core, or excuse me, it ran out of hydrogen in the core, started burning helium into carbon. It then started burning. I can't keep the sequence in mind. At some point, there would be magnesium burning, and then neon burning, and then silicon burning, and then finally the end product would be iron. And iron has the wonderful characteristic that if you try to fuse it, if it were possible to slam the two iron nuclei together, it would take more energy than it would release in that process. But also, if you were to take an iron atom and you were to try to split it in half or have it decay in some manner, the amount of energy, again, to do that would be more than what you get out of it. So iron cannot be fused, nor it can be fissioned. It is the only element that, in fact, cannot be used for any kind of nuclear energy production. So it's basically the stop. Going up from hydrogen, where all the fusion can happen, it stops at iron. For fission, you go from plutonium, uranium, you go down to lower elements, it stops at iron. Iron is a really obstinate element in that way. So right now, we believe that it is, I think at this stage, it's actually not burnt up. I'm going to back that off. I believe at this stage, it's probably going through neon fusion in its core. But that's interesting. I will look into that. In any event, because what we find is that for every successive material that it burns, for every successive element that it fuses to make a new element, that timeline shortens. So it takes billions of years for the sun, it's going to take billions of years for the hydrogen to be exhausted. For helium, it's next, when the sun starts burning helium and becomes a red giant, that's only going to go on the order of millions of years or hundreds of millions of years. Same thing with high mass stars. So every higher species of element, every heavier element that is burning in its core, it does so much faster than it did in the previous era. So our best estimates, I know this is all getting long, or rather long-winded. The short answer to that ultimately is our models tell us that Betelgeuse is right, that Betelgeuse is going to pop off and become a supernova sometime astronomically very soon. Unfortunately, determining the ages of things, astronomically speaking, is very difficult to do. It is even more difficult to do with any kind of precision. So, when we say that Betelgeuse is going to blow up imminently, what we really mean is that it could blow up right now, or it could blow up 100,000 years from now. So 10 years, it's possible, but I wouldn't call that accurate. I would call that accurate, but again, anything in the range from now to 100,000 years from now, technically speaking, would be accurate. But if we're honest, we don't know. We honestly do not know. Although there are more indicators recently that window of 100,000 years may actually be shrinking. There are certain dimming events. So there was last year or so, there was a lot of to do about the fact that Betelgeuse was visibly dimming. Like this was notable by just the everyday person looking up at the sky. They could tell that Betelgeuse was not as bright as it was in the past. And a lot of people were getting excited. Oh, this is the precursor to the big event. But no, really what it was a precursor to Betelgeuse burping. Betelgeuse blew up. What we believe was happening was that the dimming ended. At some point, it came back, and it's now as bright as it was, or reasonably close to as bright as it was before. what was happening is that a very large, essentially a coronal mass ejection, a very large clump of material got blown off of Betelgeuse, and just so happened to be within our line of sight. It was coming, roughly speaking, directly towards us. And as it did so, it got bigger and it got colder, and that dimmed the total amount of light that we saw from Betelgeuse. So, yeah, think that, and in fact, that I think it's still dimming. It's dimming again. Folks have shortened that timetable, but I have not heard it being shortened to 10 years. So that is what I need. That is my long-winded answer to your question. Are there green stars? Yeah. So according to my favorite astronomer, Neil deGrasse Tyson, there are. And, it comes... all right, here's the issue. We can only tell color as we define green or blue or red is biological. When our eyes are biologically tuned to see a certain wavelength regime as the color green or the color blue. The problem is that for whatever reason, if you take a light source and you put it near basically the green yellow kind of boundary, our eyes have a great amount of difficulty distinguishing the green. So it basically has to be really green in the sense that the field of view, or not field of view, the wavelength range has to be narrow for us to distinguish, okay, that is green. Otherwise, it's going to appear maybe orangey yellow. So is it true that our sun is green? In a very pedantic way, yes. Because if you look at the peak wavelength at which the sun radiates, it's around 575 nanometers. It is in the green part of what we define as the green part of the color spectrum. But if you were to, obviously, when we look at the sky, we do not see it as green. If you were to go into space, you would not see it as green, because our human eye does not have the filtering to narrow down that part of the electromagnetic spectrum where the green color dominates. And so we see it as a blur of a lot of different colors, and we see it more as a yellowy star. So if I put my Neil deGrasse pedantic hat on, yes, there are green stars. If I wanted to go by what you might experience in reality, no, there are no green stars. There are no stars that peak so narrowly in the green color that you would perceive them as green. Could Betelgeuse last another billion years? Highly, highly, highly doubtful. We are confident that, like I said, that it will more than likely not live past 100,000 years. It would be rather exceptional if it lived for another million years. If it lived for a billion years after, if it blew up a billion years from now, then we got that way wrong. But we are fairly confident, like I said, that it will blow up sometime between now and 100,000 years from now. Like I said, possibly folks have narrowed that window down, but age is just one of those things. Excuse me. Age is just one of those things that is real tricky to nail down, because there are so many factors that can affect the age of a star. It's internal, its metallicity, its its specific radio, if its specific luminosity, which is dependent on its core temperature, what the nuclear reaction rates are. So a lot of different factors play into it, and so getting an exact age is tough. It's one of the tougher things. If I were to name any of the physical characteristics of a star, what would be the toughest one to nail down? It would be age. Mass we can do pretty well, very well. Radius we can do pretty well or very well. Surface temperature we can do pretty well. Age, yeah, that's the one that's the trickiest in my opinion. How would you prove it cannot? So, don't really like the word prove, but the way we know, or the way that we estimate this, is from our understanding of how nuclear fusion works, of how much energy is produced through nuclear fusion, through the understanding of what the pressure of a particular environment is given the amount of mass that's above it and given the amount of mass below it, and variety of other physical phenomenon that we have tested in the lab, we can model what we expect the sun to, or that star, how that star exists. We can tell you, we have a model which will tell you what the surface temperature is. We will tell you what the total mass of the system is, how that mass is arrayed as a function of distance. Really, the density of the material is a function of distance. We can tell you what the pressures are. We can tell you what the temperatures are. Again, within a certain range. All of those, taken within those ranges, is going to tell you eventually how that star is going to end, particularly the time frame that it's going to end. So, given our observations of what it is and comparing it to what we call stellar evolutionary tracks, or how its observable properties change as a function of time, we believe that it's due, essentially. That is how we prove it. All right. How's the focus doing? Focus kind of looks like shit. I am never happy with the focus of this thing. I can never seem to get the focus of this telescope down to less than 5 or 4 arc seconds. Peter says that he can, and his group can, but I've never seen it. How can you tell the density of a star 10 light years away? Well, from a bulk characteristic or bulk way, you can determine its mass. If it's a binary system, then if it's 2 stars going around each other, then by studying by analyzing the orbit those two undergo as they go around a common barycenter, you can derive its mass from classical mechanics. And if it's big enough, you can use interferometric observations to directly measure the angular size of the star, and that, coupled with its distance, will tell you its linear size. So now you have the linear size. You can calculate the volume, assuming a spherical object. So mass divided by volume, bing, bang, boom, density. If you cannot determine it interferometrically, again, through the binary system, if it's a particular type of binary, specifically an eclipsing binary, you can then measure the radius of the star that way. And again, if you know the distance to it through, say, parallax, then bing, bang, boom, density. In terms of its density profile, that you have to do through statistical methods. You have to study a lot of stars, and you essentially have to see what they're doing over time in a statistical way. There's also spectroscopic ways you can do it based on the widths of certain spectral features. That would be, I think that's actually the more direct way that you would do it. So, yeah, that's not a as straightforward an answer as you might think, or question as you might think it is. Is classical mechanics based off of relativity? No. The core principles behind relativity, or that the underpinnings of relativity and the underpinnings of classical mechanics, are not reconcilable. One believes in an absolute frame of reference. It believes that space, time, or space, that width, length, and depth are independent of time, whereas relativity believes that all reference frames are relative. There is no preferred, there is no absolute, there is no such thing as an absolute reference frame, and that there are in fact 4 dimensions. That time is integral to what we call reality. It's if you change time, you are in fact changing the dimensionality, changing the dimensions of an object. However, relativity, how GR came about, is an excellent history lesson, as it were, or as to how what Kuhn would refer to as a paradigm, how scientific paradigm gets shifted or revolutionized. So classical mechanics, prior to the 1900s, was able to explain the motions of things very, very well, but it was having some problems. For example, when Maxwell came out with his laws of electromagnetism, one of the postulates that Maxwell claimed was that that light would have a set speed. Now, that seemed to be something in conflict with classical mechanics, because classical mechanics essentially was assuming that the speed of light was infinite, that it was infinite. Basically, it was instantaneous. What Maxwell is telling us is no, actually, light takes time to go from one place to another, and that's baked into the physics. There are other things in there that I honestly I have not studied well enough, but what it boils down to is classical mechanics. There were certain problems that it could not answer. One of the sort of the prototypical one is the precession of Mercury's orbit. So Mercury goes around the sun, and then that orbit also rotates around the sun at a very, very slow rate, but measurable. Classical mechanics does predict that it would do this based on the gravitational influence of the solar system, but it would predict it to be doing it at a much slower rate than what was observed. So that was a problem. And so relativity came around. Well, Einstein's formulation of relativity and its subsequent development, it was able to predict, the precession of Mercury's orbit should be this fast. And it matched our observations. And so what relativity could do was it could explain everything else that classical mechanics could do. But now it could also answer new questions that classical mechanics could not. As is said by friends and colleagues of mine, you can kind of think of classical mechanics as a special case. Classical mechanics can still be used in situations where the objects are massive or big, basically larger than subatomic. The object is moving slowly, meaning less than 10% the speed of light, and the object is not very close to a massive body. Mercury fails that because it's close enough to the sun that relativity actually matters. A relativistic treatment actually matters. But if you're talking about, say, Neptune, and you wanted to know what Neptune's orbit is, if you wanted to know to characterize Neptune's orbit around the sun, then classical mechanics is still very much of a valid way to do it. You would look at gravity as a force as opposed to the curvature of space-time. So. So it seems that classical mechanics being used to calculate a star's density could be flawed if it has already failed in predicting the motion of other planets. It comes down to ultimately your precision. If and in this case, actually, if we're going to talk about what would fail first, it's not that we would need a relativistic treatment, although that might be true that would be true in the core of it, but also our understanding of quantum mechanics may also, classical mechanics will also fail in the quantum mechanical level, because classical mechanics also does not explain subatomic particles very well. That's another way that Newton's laws, or what have you, break down, is they do not describe subatomic particle motions really at all. They certainly have nothing to say about uncertainty or probabilities or the Heisenberg, say the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Classical mechanics has no way of reconciling those observations or that phenomenon. So, but it comes down to precision. If you want to know, so if you want it to be 100% bang on all the time, every phenomenon that, say, is caused by gravity, if you're talking about a gravitational interaction between one body and the next, yes, if you want it to be bang on, you always use a GR treatment. You always calculate things or measure, you always calculate things or predict things using general relativity. But the reason why that's not done is because a GR treatment is intense. It requires a high level of mathematics that a lot of people do not possess, even astronomers. They do not really have that sort of proficiency to do that. Or if they do, it's just kind of a pain in the ass to do it. But given the limitations of our observations, given the limitations of the observational tools that we have at hand, if you do it classically, your answer isn't going to be any different. It's essentially any difference is going to be lost in the noise of your observations. Our technology is literally not precise enough for us to be able to see the difference between a prediction done by classical mechanics and a prediction that is relativistic. In this case, this does not really, a star's density doesn't really fall into this, at least not at such a, it's not going to change. If you were to look at a star and say its surface density was, or surface gravity, which is related to its density, was 1.1 classically, and then you were to calculate it using GR, it wouldn't just suddenly turn into 5. So it's not a huge difference. It's more like it would go from 1.11 to 1.112 or something like that. It would be a subtle difference that you would need a high precision instrument in order to measure. Oh, hey, I didn't even see Matt in the chat. Howdy. Assuming that you're still here, considering that was 10 minutes ago, I doubt it. The Triangulum Galaxy. How far? What are we doing here? All right. Anytime, baby. Instagram specification. Logarithmic. There you can kind of see, I'm hoping you can see this. Yeah. I'm just basically playing around with how the light is displayed on the image. So, we have the possibility of collecting roughly I need to look more into this, but let's say 60,000 counts. So we can see in each individual photon or each individual pixel, the value of light within that pixel can vary from 0 to 6,000, 60,000. So you've got that to deal with. But the major limitation is that there are only 255 channels for which to display the contrast and brightness variations. So that a lot of that data gets binned or combined together. If a certain white light level, a lot of different range in pixel values can correspond to the same whiteness, as it were, or same darkness. And what I'm doing here is the way you essentially arrange those channels or assign those pixel values into what levels of white and black or gray, you can make the picture look different. And by different, what I mean, I have to be very careful about this, is you not exemplify, you accentuate certain features like spiral arms or what have you. Yeah, Jeff, I'm glad you popped in too. Yeah, let's definitely chat sometime soon. Hopefully life gets a little less hectic for you. But yeah, thanks for dropping by. I really appreciate it. See here with log normal, kind of see some of the arms well, but the center gets blown out with downloading. Hey, howdy, Stephanie. With Rayleigh, on the other hand, well, that still looks pretty much the same. Yeah. I was hoping I can pull out some of the detail, but I don't know. Oh. Excuse me. It is getting on there in time. I'm getting the munchies, so I might actually head off and do a vending machine run and leave you all for like 10, 15 minutes. I don't think the rain is going to come in. I don't think the telescope is going to catch on fire. So I think I can leave this in all y'all's capable hands for like 10 minutes while I go get some Doritos. Got some Discord notifications. Why am I getting... Okay, that's weird. I don't usually get those kind of notifications from Discord on my phone. Now I gotta say, Instagram, I can now understand why people keep their accounts private. I'd say at least half of my followers on Instagram are bots. Attractive looking bots, but bots. I'm like, ooh, somebody followed me. Oh, yes. Someone who's not real. Yay. But really, I follow my Instagram feed is almost entirely that. Yes, that is in fact cats wearing capes. The caption says, just inform them that there will be no second breakfast. Yes, my Instagram feed is almost entirely cat memes, and I'm okay with that. because cats are awesome. Oh, yeah. Here's another. Comparing the motions of a big cat to a small cat. Awesome. Awesome. Anyway, so what's going on here? Does determining the mass of planets use the mass of the Earth as a basis? No, it does not. Well, actually, let me think about that for more than half a second. Determining mass of the... Yeah, no, it does not. Radial velocity certainly doesn't. That is the most direct way to determine the mass of an object, which is by looking at the gravitational interaction, or basically the speed of the planet as it goes around, or more specifically, the speed of the star as it's being tugged on by the planet. That is independent of the Earth's mass. Microlensing, which is another way of directly determining a mass, is also independent of so, yes. Same thing with density. Determining the density of a planet, of an exoplanet, is also independent of determining of the mass and or density of the Earth. Just got up from sleep and looked at the eastern sky from my kitchen. They're extra bright there here. Oh, it could be that you just have... normally, there is maybe some high cirrus, which causes the sky to look a little bit brighter, and so you don't notice the stars as bright, and so that cirrus layer is actually cleared out, and so you are seeing the stars as best you can in your location. So, haha, mood lighting. All right. Like I said, I'm going to head out for 10 minutes, go get some Doritos, and I'll be right, and a soda, and I'll be right back. Don't break my telescope while I'm gone. I see you. I'm back. I was just noticing that, Stephanie, I think, because, yeah, the really bright star that I'm seeing as I walk back to my office is Jupiter. Oh, hi, David. Assuming you're still here. So, Stephanie, did you ever settle that argument or conversation with Walter? Stephanie, you're not alone in that. If folks are going to know the constellations, they're going to know either the Big Dipper, the Little Dipper, and or Orion. So, Stephanie, what's your sign? I'm an Aries. And yes, I did ask someone what their sign was. I ain't scared. Ah, okay. This stream unofficially brought to you by M&M's. Whoa, okay. I am an Aries sun. I don't know any of the others. I don't know what my moon sign is. Your moon sign is the constellation the moon was in at the time of your birth. Is that right? Okay. Got it. Got it. I can figure that out. Actually, once I'm done here with this, I will figure that out. Hmm. Oh. Hmm. I wish I could. I wish Stellarium in Linux was not automatically full screen. Because I was hoping to be able to share the Stellarium screen so that you could all find out what my moon sign is and what was rising. Time, date, and location, and get free natal chart. Okay. Stellarium is not astrology, though. Well, Stellarium can tell me what where the moon was when I was born. So that should give me my astrological sign. Although I suppose if I did that, then it would show Stellarium would show that my zodiacal sign is actually Pisces than it is Aries because of the whole precession of the Earth business. So yeah, I think I would have to go to a astrologer to get an accurate reading of what my astrological signs are. So I think, let me look at my thingy. I currently have 472 subs. Anyone have any suggestions of what I should do for my 500 subs special? I'm thinking just hanging out, drinking some beers, doing that sort of thing. But if someone has a better idea or a different idea, I am all for it. You know, I'd like to figure out a way to. I'd like to figure out how to have folks on my Discord and then show that through StreamYard. It's Probably not as complicated as I think it is, but particularly with StreamYard. OBS, probably difficult. StreamYard, probably not. Speaking of Discord, if you'd like to join my Discord, the link is scrolling across the screen. I think that link is still valid. That invite is still valid. Hey, no worries. I can't type usually ever. Howdy, Charlie. How are you doing? Charlie, we are looking at the Triangulum Galaxy. This is an image of it in blue. In about 120 seconds, we'll have a picture of it in green. What am I doing here? That one. Hey, Dan, you're still here. Watching me eat was more interesting than this? What? Well, then, Charlie, you ain't the first person to tell me that tonight. Apparently, you and Dan are birds of a feather in terms of feeling spacing. Hey, Dan, if it, give us some conversation. I don't know what you want me to do with this. Oops. I do try to provide good quality entertainment. Saturation. What's saturated? Let's try something. Saturating is actually not how you add color. Saturation, what that means is that what saturation means is that the individual pixel element has reached its maximum. That the pixel cannot register any more light, even though you might be shining a direct light on it. It's basically going to be the same. So what saturation really kind of means is that it from a CCD perspective means that that particular element cannot take any more light, will not register any more light. From a photographic perspective, I think what that means is that the whole thing just gets more washed over, or the whole image sort of gets brighter. But I'd have to take that. I'd have to look into that a little bit further. My astrophotography is a bit limited, I will say. But stacking, the process of stacking is where you take images of, like this. I'm taking multiple images of the triangle and galaxy, and I'm going to, in a program, I'm going to register them. I'm going to determine, where the specific place in the sky that these images are of, and I'm going to overlay those images so that they're all aligned with one another, and I am then going to literally add them together. And so that is what we mean by stacking. You posted. Hold on, while you're doing that, let's see here. Let's try something. All right. Share screen. Window. Share. That is my Discord. If I go into general bullshit. Yeah, I don't know if that's technically speaking well, I guess it is saturated, but that's not what saturation doesn't really have anything to do with color. At least not from my perspective. Hold on a second. I want to make sure my settings are right. Yeah, I think so. Judy popped in and then popped out. I think the oversaturated means that it's bright. Essentially, you can no longer see, like, you can see that it's pixelated. Pixelated in there. I think that's what they mean by saturated. But it doesn't have it. As far as my knowledge of astrophotography goes, it's not the same as. It doesn't have anything to do with color, at least not from an astrophotography point of view. All right. This is probably going to go way badly, but all right. Okay, if I put my cursor over here on StreamYards, it goes away. But if I put my cursor on the Discord, it doesn't go away. Okay, so, all right. Step one, I can share my screen, or I can share Discord through StreamYards, and in StreamYards, or excuse me, you can share Discord through StreamYards, and in Discord I can share my screen showing what I'm doing with VNC. Prove that there are no color assignments on that. I don't know what you mean by that. I mean, essentially, I don't know what took this. I don't know what camera took this, but yeah, obviously it's been tweaked in such a way as to bring out the colors of the image. But again, I don't know how it was taken, and I am not that big of a I am not that proficient in Photoshop to be able to do this sort of thing. And this is really, really pretty. I still don't quite get what issue you're trying to arise. And oh my God, it's actually getting chilly. So what is it about these that bothers you? What is it about these images that bother you? And if you want to hop in voice chat, go nuts. I got to test that out anyway. Said Judy was here, but she left. Maybe because of sound issues. Colors that are only tints of color. Yeah, I think I can hear you.
Okay, good.
Can y'all?
Well, when I first showed you this, you go, "That's fake." When I first showed you this, let me kill the. I gotta kill the YouTube. Okay.
Got it. Okay.
When I first showed you these images, you go, "Well, those aren't real," and I go, "Well, yeah, they're new images." And the crazy thing is that week, some kid did this with a 5-inch telescope, the ISS transit.
Okay.
We were watching that, and at the same week, the Hawaii one came out with new shots too. So suddenly there was these saturated, stacked images of the moon, and I showed it to you. The first thing, these images here are the ones with the ISS in them.
Yeah.
And you go, "Well, that's not real," because you've seen the moon before.
Well,
I go, "Well, it is real. They just assign colors to these shading areas." That I got shit on for claiming that they were color assignments. And I was told to take an image into Photoshop and play with the saturation, and it did bring out don't know.
All right. Now we can. Now we got audio on YouTube. Is there an echo? Echo.
There should be, because I got to watch it.
Right.
So.
Now I don't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, now I do.
All right. Because I don't want to do this so that I want to have you on. I just and show my Discord. I just don't want to. There are folks watching, and I want them to be able to understand what we're talking about.
Yeah. So I was looking at the elements, and I'm like, I don't think that's what those colors represent.
Okay.
And because everyone said, of course, that it did, because that was there. And then, so that's the big deal, is like, what is really there, and why are they giving us these images with, are they false colors? I don't know what to call them.
I would call them false color. And as to, and so my understanding, again, really haven't looked into it, although I did see the one link that you showed me, the article. I think they did specify that they changed the tint so that they could highlight different areas of different mineral composition. But I don't know what colors go to what. I also don't know.
It's not even true, because here's the mineral composition here. It's 45% silica, so
Yeah.
you either give that to white or red in this case, But I don't think it's set up like that. I don't think these areas are more of these materials or not. Like, obviously the red would seem to be iron. I don't think that's the case. 14% of the chemical composition is iron, but there's more red colors here than that.
14% of the Moria are iron. So yeah, you're right. Without knowing what those I do believe the colors are supposed to represent mineral composition, but unless I know what the colors correspond to, as you pointed out, I don't know how meaningful it is.
And it looks like I have the real data here, but I can't see it. It's too small. I can't read it.
Oh, good Lord.
I go, here it is. And I keep blowing it up, and it just turns to fuzz.
Well, yeah. Who would make a map like this? I mean, put all this stuff on the back of the map. Even still, that's a lot of verbiage.
It sure is. I thought I had everything down. I'm like, okay, guys, because what was happening is I said the colors aren't there. I go, they're just color assignments. Then they go, no, it's an enhancement. They're not choosing the colors, they're already there. I'm like, okay, what do you mean? And they forced me to go in and saturate those images myself. So suggesting that certain light tints of those colors are there, suggesting that they're only enhancements, not assignment, so it's very strange.
Well, I mean, in the sense that I would agree with that, in the sense that there's going to be a subtle difference in the reflected light off of, say, silicate than there is iron. In normal photographs, I don't think you could perceive that difference very well, but you could fiddle with the color balance or tinting so that you can bring that out. Now, as to what color corresponds to what, I think you would actually have to go into a lab and figure out, okay, if I were to shine light on iron, it should look like this. If I shine light on silicon, it would have this color. So PhD Tony would be the better person to speak to on this than I would, because he's the geologist. But I do want to say, Stephanie, yes, it does. Jupiter to me also looked very, very orange. But so yeah, but why does it? So do you think that these images are being deceptive in some way? They're
No more than when you and I spoke about Jupiter and a little halo on it. And you go, look, it wasn't that they're both visible at the same time. It's just this is the way we're showing you what it would look like if you could see it.
okay. All right. Yeah. Okay.
So they're kind of doing that on the moon too. They're going, if
Yeah.
there were these subtle differences, it would look like this.
Yeah.
If you could see it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think from in the same way that you have these Hubble images that come out, or the JWST images that come out, a lot of the purpose of that image is really just to inspire people and to have something that people can have a representation of. When you actually talk about the science of it, we don't use those pictures. We don't use the color pictures. We use the individual, the images that were taken in the individual filters, and then we do a numerical analysis on that. I would imagine that folks who do geology on the moon or selenography, they also don't look at these pretty pictures. They look at the images as taken through different filters and then parse it that way.
It was just weird because the same week this came out, when we were discussing it, one was done on a 5-inch telescope in the backyard, and the other was this whole controversial new Hawaii scope.
Huh.
Which is, I don't remember how big it is. About, I don't know, 4 feet, something like that. I can't remember how big that one is.
Well, the only controversial telescope that I know of on Hawaii at this point is the TMT, the 30 meter. And as far as I know, that hasn't even broken ground yet. But I could be very, very wrong.
Oh, really?
Howdy, Bellywood.
Sure? I know somebody that lives there, and like somebody, they camp at the bottom of the road like they used to do at nuclear protests.
Oh yeah, they're protesting the build, and it's basically interfering with its construction. But as far as I know, they haven't actually really broke ground yet, because the last I heard, they were actually considering moving it to the Canary Islands. But I haven't looked into it in a while. 30 meters.
It's the first thing at that facility. They didn't already have a facility there.
Oh, they do, and that's the controversy. So the site is Mauna Kea, is the top of Mauna Kea, a mountain that is sacred to Native Hawaiians. And we have been building telescopes up there for a very, very long time. And we keep telling the Native Hawaiians, who are kind of irritated that we're building these things on their sacred site, we're going to preserve the site. We're not going to damage it. And then the last thing we told them was, all right, if we build another telescope, we're going to take one down. We're going to basically keep the number of telescopes constant. But we have yet again broken that arrangement. We are not decommissioning a telescope, and it doesn't matter anyway, because this telescope is huge, and I think it encroaches more on the sacred site than any of the other telescopes do. So yeah, the Hawaiians are pissed.
That's okay. We burnt down that village.
Yeah.
We'll teach them.
Who's building it? Our story so far. Yeah. All right. So, yeah, I'm not seeing anything. Like, this seems like old stuff. Well, 22. Yeah, it doesn't look to me like they've broken ground. So it sounds to me like it's still in a stalemate between NASA or rather the TMT organization and the Native Hawaiians. Oh, shoot.
I can't find those images.
All right, I am actually going to stop sharing Discord. And I'm going to switch over to this because I am moving targets. All right. So yay! As the Canaries have a dry climate, isn't it a better place to put an observatory? I will address that momentarily. Yes and no. What am I looking for here? I'm looking for that. Find slough.
I was camping once and saw a shooting star, and I thought I heard it go whoosh.
That would be new. I've seen shooting stars. I've never encountered that.
I was a kid, so I don't have a.
Could be wind. Could just be timing of the wind at that point.
Maybe my imagination.
That
Maybe
too.
Just maybe we talked about it whooshing across the sky.
Yeah, it's possible.
Maybe I was just told that. When I was a kid, there was a bunch of commotion at my front door, and they told me to sit down and eat, not worry about it. And afterwards, I told, "Who was that? Who was that?" And they said, "Well, it's just a colored guy." And I went running to the window to go see like Rainbow Man. I never heard of a colored guy before.
Well, yeah.
I'm like pissed. I'm like, that's just a black guy.
Well, it's a different color than white.
Yeah, I thought Rainbow Man was outside. Never heard that term in my life. A colored guy.
Well, it's more progressive than Negro.
Yeah, they should call it saturated. Maybe he's just saturated.
Oh, I don't think that would sit well with a lot of folks. And I think my focus is for Christ. All right, so telescope is deciding that it's misbehaving again.
When are you getting that thing fixed? We know it needs work.
I am. I don't know. At this point, I'm like, we should just scrap this and buy a new one. Where was I going with this? All right, hold on a second. Yeah.
Good thing you're not flying this craft. You'd be like, let's go.
Yeah, I know that. I know myself well enough that becoming an astronaut is just not in my psychological makeup. Like, something's going wrong. We're all going to die.
I think we make a left at that star.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. We got stars. Now, what I need to do is.
Well, no wonder they hire artists. These pictures just aren't exciting.
No, they aren't. They really aren't. Ooh, wow, that didn't work. All right. Let's try. That's 11:11.
You need an Asian lady that touches up, like the when they do your nails. Like, we need to touch up your stars. Come on, bring it here. I'll make pretty.
Let's see here. Okay. We have. So the star that I'm looking for is right there. Nope. Is it that one? It's either one of these two. I'm pretty sure it's that one, actually. And I think I have overshot.
What do you mean overshot?
Oh, no. There it is. One of the problems that we're having, that we've had before, is if this telescope slews too far, if the telescope slews a lot, like we're talking, 60, 70 degrees across the sky, for whatever reason, it seems to keep moving once it's actually supposedly at its location, and then overshoot. But basically, it just keeps moving. But in this case, it doesn't seem to have done that. I don't know why the last image I took was streaked, but this is what I'm looking for. All right. These images, Dan, I will tell you right now, are going to be boring. This is for science. what I'm doing is there's a particular star right here that is a Cepheid variable or a pulsating variable. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at that star over time, and I'm going to measure its brightness as a function of time. And that is going to tell me what its distance is, or I can use it to determine what the distance is. So yeah, it's just going to look like this. So so we're going to have a B, we're going to have a V, we're going to have an R. I'm pretty sure B is 240. R is 60. All right. Let's see here. Let's see. That's 60. And
Do you go in on the weekends, or is the campus a ghost town?
oh, I do go on the weekends. And now the students just got back, so it is no longer a ghost town. Over the summer, it very much is. But during the semester, weekends, weekdays, it's obviously during the day, there's a lot more students on the week, but at night they're pretty much the same. Because really, all you've got are the students who are campus bound because they do not have cars. That is not what I wanted. Let's go here. Let's see. per, such a romantic name. We got 180, 60, 60.
I found out that flat Earth groupies. Do you think maybe you might be missing out on astronomy groupies?
There are flat Earth groupies?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You know,
you should go to the conference. You should go to the conference in Vegas.
Yeah. I don't know. The only two women I know of in flat Earth are Patricia Steele, who probably wouldn't give me the time of day, and that the other woman who gets really upset when you disagree with her, and basically she flips you the bird. Darren B, that's the one. But yes. So I don't know. I don't know how well I would do at a flat Earth conference. As for astronomy, yeah, sadly there's no groupies. Not that I've encountered anyway. So getting to the Canary Islands, getting back to the Canary Islands, is all right, cool. So the reason why I think someone was mentioning that the Canary Islands was dry. Where was it? There we go. Bellywood. As the Canaries have dry climate, isn't a better place to put in a telescope or an observatory anyway. That is one consideration. The Mauna Kea is one of two sites that are premier in terms of astronomical seeing, and that's really the thing that the gold standard is. We want a location where the atmosphere affects the starlight the least, and the various ways that the atmosphere can affect the starlight. One is humidity. Another one is wind. If the wind is too turbulent, that causes the atmosphere to blur out starlight more. Or if you're high up, the higher you go, the better your seeing is, because the less atmosphere you're looking through. So the two premier places is Mauna Kea for us Americans, and for the Europeans, there are actually a couple places on the Andes. Serra Tololo is the best, I think, of two major ones. There's Cerro Tololo and Cerro Penal. And I think Cerro Tololo is the better site, astronomically speaking. The Canary Islands are not as high, so the seeing is not as good on the Canary Islands as Mauna Kea. But if we were being honest, given the given our advances in adaptive optics, we can basically mitigate the atmosphere out completely at those locations. So I don't know if that's really a good reason not to go to the Canary Islands. I would imagine there's some other consideration that's not really being made public. It might be it's more expensive to build in the Canary Islands. That's probably what's actually happening because, all things seem to come down to money. It's more expensive to build in the Canaries than, the native Hawaiians can go jump off a cliff or jump off of Mauna Kea. Does the observatory have a telescope with a physical lens you can look directly through? Our observatory, yes. So our observatory, and I should be able to, yes, if I can figure out what I'm looking at. Yeah, that one. Okay. So I'm going to come down here. Why are you moving? Stop moving. All right. Well, hopefully the next image will calm down. So, Stephanie, I hope you can see this image over here. It's not in the best place, but the down here, and actually that little glowy bit that you see there, that's actually an eyepiece. So you can look through that eyepiece with the eye, and this is what we call a tertiary mirror. It is a mirror on essentially that can rotate, and we have 4 ports that it can rotate to. So it can shine the light through the eyepiece, or we can rotate it so that it shines the light from the telescope to the CCD camera, or to a planetary camera, or to an infrared camera that we are currently in the process of installing. Bigger telescopes like the 30 meter, what the 30 meter is going to be, or the Keck telescopes, or and I shit you not, the VLTs or the very large telescopes. No, there is no eyepiece that you can see through on that end. So, yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Stephanie. So, Dan, have you met any of these groupies? Dan's still here? No, he muted himself.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No.
Even though I grew up in the music business, I really didn't recognize them as groupies until people started warming up in the past year after COVID. And there was newbies coming along. And it's hard for flat earth people to find other flat earth people they can tolerate. Most flat earthers are pretty awkward, fairly emotional, untrusting. There's not a lot of favorable features of the flat earther.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll find the women are hungry.
Yeah. I do have to say, and this is something that I've often wondered about, is there does not seem to be a lot of, well, actually, there doesn't seem to be a lot of women on the Flat Earth servers either way. I think I can literally name only 2 women I've encountered on the Flat Earth servers. One of them goes by the name of Leia. Okay, sorry, 3. One goes by the name of Leia, Lea. The other one is Troubling About, who is an Aussie, who is a Glober. Lei, I think, is a Glober. And then there is, I can't remember her name, but she's a Bevite. She's not a flat earther. She's a level that's horizontal, or so.
Yeah, the debate format's not a female. It's a posturing thing. It's a guy thing.
Yeah, I just don't know why. I mean, you think that women are just not more interested in debating than men are?
They'd be interested in talking, but men are a bit too busy arguing for real conversations to take place.
Okay.
You see how often they're just not real conversations.
They are often not real conversations, and they're like, particularly when DMOC is involved.
It matter posturing,
Yeah,
and who can out talk the other, or who's louder or nastier, something like that.
Mm.
Or sleepier, someone just gives up, Like, oh look, he ran away. It's like, he's been on here for 4 hours. He's going to bed. That's the other thing. Is the dynamic of the 24-hour schedule is weird. Where it gets late, and then the Aussies come in, and so the 24-hour dynamic is weird. But when I first got involved in Hangouts, the idea of a 24-hour worldwide think tank was just so dynamic and so great. You'd hear stuff going on, and you'd ask somebody in Italy, and they go, "Nah, we don't see that." Or you'd ask somebody in New York, and you go, "Doesn't look like it here." And you go, "No, I heard it's terrible." And they go, "No, we heard it was terrible there." So it's funny when you hear when you get to see immediate response. Like when there's trouble in France, when they were having civil disturbance, and a French person comes on. And also the Russian perspective, we hear so little from that part of the world.
Yeah, I was thinking something very similar to that, because I was just DM'd by a Finnish high school student, and I was like, it's just amazing that I live in a time where someone in Finland knows who the fuck I am and has such easy access to say hi. How are you? I appreciate your content. And I was like, that's awesome that I live in that. I live in this era. So it's very, very cool. Stephanie, what is he right about? He says he's right. Curious about that. But before I go on to that, Billywood, I want to address the windiness of the Canaries. So windiness is not necessarily a bad thing. There are two types of wind, essentially. There is even wind or laminar flow, or what we call laminar flow, and then there is turbulent flow. If you've ever seen anyone smoke, that is a great example of both of them. If you look at the smoke coming off the cherry, it comes up as a line. Like it's almost very, very straight. There's a little bit of wiggle, but it's pretty much straight. And then at some point, it just becomes chaotic. It literally becomes a swirling cloud of smoke. Laminar flow is fine. That actually doesn't make the atmosphere change very much. It doesn't make it turbulent. But as you can imagine, turbulent flow, where the air is going all over the place, that is a problem. And so for things like Mauna Kea, the wind that comes in hasn't been disrupted by the mountain yet. If you're on the lee side of the mountain, that's when you get turbulent flow. I don't know the actual topography of the Canary Islands, so I don't know what kind of wind you all have. Let's see. Plus wind from Hugh Jars. Stephanie, women are too busy unless retired like me. Okay. I also have noticed on my channel audience is at least 3-to-1 men to women. And I don't like that. I would like that to be more equal. And I don't know how to do that. So,
Tricks.
Mm-hmm. Maybe show some leg. Yeah.
Leave your wallet on the desk.
Yeah. Oh, I just caught that. Okay.
Ladies' night. You could have ladies' night one night.
Well, yeah, I could have ladies' night, but if there are not a lot of ladies watching, then what would the point be? I've often, what was it? Is it 24/7 that had ladies' night, flat Earth night? like almost every night. I'd always been meant to check that out, but I never had. Never did. Show my cats more. Okay. Sadly, I'm in my office, so Luna and Sunny are by themselves tonight.
Well, you could talk about women in astronomy. You could talk about women in science, or in education.
It's interesting that you say that because I actually gave a talk on women in astronomy 2 years ago, and that's one of the things that I'm planning on reposting to my channel, hopefully within the week. So I will be, in fact, posting something on the accomplishments of certain women in astronomy.
One of my customers is a producer in Hollywood, and she's a woman, and she's a Latina. And she produced the George Lopez show when it was.
Oh, yeah.
And she gets interviewed all the time by these Latina magazines and feminine, women's magazines and things. And it's so embarrassing for her. She was born in Detroit, doesn't speak Spanish.
Well,
and they keep wanting these great interviews, and she doesn't even speak the language to communicate. They only need a couple of sound bites, just a couple of words, and she doesn't have shit to give them. And they're so hungry to tell the story of a Latina woman making it in Hollywood. And it's just, she can't, whether it's there or not, she can't convey it in their language.
Well, maybe she needs to learn. I don't know.
But it's funny. So publicly, that's her gig. She's a Latina in Hollywood, but in real life, she's not really a Latina at all. It's just her heritage.
Yeah,
not part of her life. Not part of her life at all.
Yeah, technically, I am probably equal parts English and German, and I know no German really at all. None. Actually, my great grandfather was the one who came off the boat, and he made a conscious decision to not teach his children German. As the story goes, he's like, I'm an American now. I'm going to speak English. I left Germany for a reason, so I am going to leave all of Germanness behind me. Which I was like, that sucks. I really wish I know almost nothing about his life. I know nothing about why he came over here. But I guess he had his reasons, and yeah. So I know nothing about Germany, or very little about Germany.
I heard your dad invented the knock-knock joke. And then he won the Nobel Prize.
Okay. No. Did he invent the question mark? He did not invent the question mark. My father was a humble nurse. He was first a cardiac care nurse, and then he became a research nurse. So he actually has a publication under his name. So I am not the first James Rowe Parks to be published. Good night, Stephanie. Thank you for hanging with us tonight. I think I've got maybe 30 more minutes of darkness. So I think once this sequence is done, I'm going to basically sign off, and I'm going to do some calibration frames, and then I am going to go to sleep. So yeah. But thank you, Stephanie, for being here. Appreciate it.
Is she one of your groupies?
I would not classify her as such. No.
Is she one of your students?
No, she isn't. She I don't know where she is from. Oh, I think she mentioned it before. She's in Texas, I think. No, she became a sort of a fan of the channel, as it were, or at least a staple of the channel fairly recently, a couple weeks back, I think.
How do you know she doesn't like you?
She has given me no indication of such uh, of such inclinations. So, but who knows?
Do you know the police song "Don't Stand So Close to Me"?
I do. I haven't really analyzed it very much, but yeah, I know the song.
You should. It's totally about.
Is that the teacher one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now, yeah, I know what you mean. I know now.
Very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
That's an awful situation to be in.
Yeah, I thankfully I've really never found myself in that situation. Not really. I did date a student very briefly uh, when I was at Emory, but I didn't date her until after she was no longer my student. I have never dated a student who was under my influence. So,
In ninth grade, I took my friend and I took my teacher back to my house, and I made scrambled eggs for lunch.
okay.
And today, that would be very, very, very frowned upon.
Yes, that would be considered by most people to be inappropriate. Yeah.
Yeah, we jumped in her little Volkswagen and drove off.
Okay.
So I assume it was innocent, but that doesn't sound like it.
Yeah,
But I was there. It was innocent.
Yeah. You made eggs.
I mean, not only that, they had repaved my driveway, and we had to climb up the hillside to get to the house. So we were literally clambering amongst pulling and tugging at her to get her up the hillside. So she was pretty tough, pretty gutsy.
Yeah. Hey. Well, this was what, in the 60s?
No, it would have been 77.
77. Oh, all right. Okay. I don't know why. Volkswagen always makes me think of 60s.
Oddly enough, there's none of them. When you went to Germany, there was no bugs. There was nothing of the sort. Like when I went there, they were phased out already. Everything was more like a Golf. There was no little bugs anyway.
Yeah.
You'd like Germany, you should go. It's real clean. Everything's real proper.
Yeah, I like the architecture. I love the food. And yeah, at some point I will go. At this point, number one on my travel bucket list is the UK. I am most interested.
You're going to be disappointed. It's gray and dirty.
Well, yeah. I mean, but I'm an Anglophile. I love pretty much all things British, Scottish, and British and Irish. So, yeah, that's why I have to see it. I mean, I've watched so many movies and TV shows dealing with the British Isles and Ireland that I'm like, I have to see this with my own eyes. I have to drink in a authentic pub somewhere. I'd like to do it in England, Scotland, Wales, and Ireland, to compare and contrast. But I also need a local guide because I don't want to go to any touristy bullshit. I want to actually experience an authentic pub. When it comes to Europe, yes, Italy is the continental Europe. Italy is my first choice to go. Second is probably Czech. Prague is where I would want to go. So I am taking images now, Judy. I am taking. May not seem like it. I am taking images of per. It is the Cepheid variable, which should be located right about. Let's see. There. Now, why these are so friggin' elongated, I don't know. But I think I can still put an aperture around that and get reasonably good photometry. Albanian coast. Oh. Well, yeah, I mean, I would want to see some of the touristy stuff. Like, obviously, go see the Blarney Stone. I'm going to go see Stonehenge. I mean, how could you not go there and not see those things? So why were you in Germany, Dan?
I was on the famous David Hasselhoff. He was doing music.
That must have been something else.
It was all right. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. He was good. He was good.
Oh, the Hoff.
I mean, it was just kind of like showy. It wasn't. Didn't have a lot of. It didn't have a ton of soul.
Okay.
But
yeah,
loading docks of the world, I call it. I toured with Prince too in Europe.
Oh, I would love that. I love some Prince.
Loading docks of the world. You don't get a lot of time to do tourist stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it sounds like flight attendants.
Yeah, exactly.
What is going on with these images? Why are they so friggin' elongated?
Are you really going along with this like ellipsoid thing that they say the Earth is? I mean,
what do they call it? An oblate spheroid?
Yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm. If you want to be strictly technical about it, the Earth does not have a nice geometric shape. It is on the, if you looked at it the meter scale or even lower, I think on centimeter scale, it's lumpy as shit. And I'm not talking about topography. I'm talking about just the mean surface level is lumpy as shit. But you're talking about the centimeter scale. If you're talking, there would be no way for us to really distinguish it from the topography, really. So
I heard it's 53 meters fatter than it is tall. That's what I
heard. That is due to the rotation, the oblateness. Then yes, but 53 meters over what 6,000 or whatever it is very, very small. So, but on top of that, like I said, it's also pear-shaped and lumpy and, all that kind of good stuff. But
so the day we see it and the stars behind it would be kind of cool to see the entire star set up, like to map. I guess they're getting around to mapping stars. So we'll see.
What do you mean by mapping star? Like we have map stars. So
they're flat maps, though. They're not 3D maps.
Oh, you can find them. Actually, what was I looking at? Oh yeah. Speaking of apps, I just downloaded one called Solar System Scope. Let's see. Solar System Scope. So we got this. I'm going to mute it. How do I do? How do I know? Here's a way. Here we go. Yeah. That's I think that's at a scale of 50 light years, something like that. That would be that's a map of stars in 3D. So I actually worked with, at my department in Georgia State, there was a subgroup, or there's a research group whose goal was to find all stars within a certain volume. They have They have found every star within 10 parsecs. I think they have found every star within 25 parsecs. And the next goal is to find every star within 50 parsecs.
What's a parsec?
1 parsec is equal to 3.26 light years.
And why is it derived, like when they make an acre, why is a parsec a parsec? Like,
Excellent question. The parsec is a sort of a cobbled together term from parallactic arcsecond. So a 1 parsec is defined as if you had a star at that distance, it would look as if it underwent a parallactic shift of exactly 1 arcsecond. So that would be.
Good answer.
Yeah.
That was a good answer.
Thank you. Yeah, that would be 3.26 light years away. I don't know why. I think it's because of the first time that we were able to get distances to stars with any sort of accuracy was trigonometric parallax, and so I think that's why we have stuck to parsecs as opposed to light years. Because for some reason in astronomy, when we talk about distances, we almost exclusively talk about parsecs. But when you talk about science communication, we almost always exclusively talk about light years. So, and I'm not entirely certain why. I guess it's easier to conceptualize what a light year is than it is for a parsec. But
Off the top of your head, without holding you to it, of the objects that they track, I mean, of the objects that could be threatening the Earth, on inbound things, they don't have them all tracked, right? They've been surprised recently by a couple of them.
Oh, no, by no means do they have them all tracked. They have, and that's the scary thing, is we know we don't have them all tracked. And we know that, a conservative estimate would mean that we actually are missing thousands of near Earth objects, which is the motivation behind survey missions or telescopic surveys like Pan-STARRS, which is in Hawaii. And its job is to look at the sky, survey the sky continuously, the northern hemisphere, celestial hemisphere, and to look for asteroids that may potentially cross our path. So
that one that came a year or two ago that came between us and the moon, that's close. If you're talking between us and the moon, wow.
Yep.
That is close.
It is. I always like to scare my students because when we talk about this sort of thing, because if you look at, we have had enough impacts, we have basically seen enough of this that we can statistically extrapolate. So when you're talking about planet killers, the one like the dinosaurs, we're basically due. We would expect that one of those should hit us every 60 to 100 million years. In terms of smaller asteroids, the odds get even worse for us. In terms of basically a continent killer, that happens once every few hundred million years.
Plus, there could be threats in the sun too that are regular wipeout events.
So the big one is the coronal mass ejection. You may have heard of the thing called the Carrington event, which was a pretty direct but still a glancing blow. This was back in the 1800s. There were stories about how telegraph wires got burst into flames. So it's not that the Carrington, even if we got directly hit by a CME, we wouldn't die. All of our electronics would, though. So we would technologically kind of be back in the Iron Age, and there would be a lot of damage because electronics would planes would fall from the sky, shit would get would go on fire.
That coronal mass ejection in the 1800s, quite a fascinating story.
Yeah, it's called the Carrington event. There's a really bad movie that's disaster movie that theoretically looks at what would happen if that same event had happened. I think this was made in the 90s. So,
Isn't there always a bad movie after these things?
yeah. But now it's worse. Now, as we get more technologically sophisticated, the dangers of a CME become more pronounced. Because, as I said,
Technologically reliant more than sophisticated.
yeah. I mean, like I said, the CME itself is not life threatening. I there may be health risks that I may be unaware of, but it's not going to kill us. It's just going to kill all electronics that are not properly shielded.
So, along that lines, we should go back to mentioning the anti-Fakira mechanism, because that certainly seems to be from another era.
Well, that is the first known computer. So,
but of a different era. It seems to be a relic of a different civilization.
well, it's Greek. I don't remember who.
A different run of humanity after a major event.
I don't know. I was not aware of that. I had a colleague who was obsessed with the damn thing. He would talk about how it functioned.
Wasn't made by the Greeks, I promise you.
All right.
Somebody brought that technology. The awareness of the schedule between the planets. Over time.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. And then putting it to a little machine that cranks in your hand. It's on. You'd only need it if you were flying. It's like if you'd only need it if you were flying, going through time, and wanted to know where the planet would be at a different time, months or years ahead.
It just strikes me that if it were from aliens and they were flying through space, why would they use such a simplistic device to do it? But I do want to answer Bellywood. Is there feasibly any way to protect us from the risk? No, not effectively. We can protect. It would require a large amount of shielding around electrical devices, even if it's possible. And the space station is shielded to a certain extent, so that if a CME were to come by and to glance by us, then it would still be able to function. But I think a direct hit would still kill it. To be able to protect, shield all of the electronics like power grids, no, I don't think it's. I don't think it's financially feasible to do so, and really, that's all that matters. But,
I'm sorry to throw in a tangent, but I wasn't able to talk about it when you were talking about it. What exactly is a parsec compared to a light year?
1 parsec is equal to 3.26 light years.
Wowzers.
So, yeah. So a light year is defined as the amount of distance a light travel or a photon travels in a year. A parsec or a parallactic arcsecond is the distance. If something were at a parsec, was at that distance, it would undergo a parallactic shift of 1 arcsecond.
So Han Solo was talking bullshit.
Effectively, yes. Although they have come up with some rather interesting ways to make that work out. Because now in Star Wars lore, the Kessel Run is a trip around or through 4 black holes. So what they're saying, or what they're saying Han Solo was saying, was that he could find the most direct route through those black holes. And so it then would equate to a time. But really, it's a lot of bullshit to me. So yes, ultimately, Han Solo was talking a lot of bullshit.
Yeah. Explain it away, just like the best of space deniers.
Yeah, that's what sci-fi geeks do, is they try to explain away as much of inconsistencies in the lore as they possibly can.
Yeah, I had an argument with a guy once about that. It was just like, yeah, but no, it's a distance unit, not a time unit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was trying to find the straightest run. Yeah, bullshit.
Yeah, basically.
Anyway, sorry for disturbing you.
No. Don't worry about it. No worries. My memory is such that I don't remember what I was talking about. Oh, yeah, I see these. Oh, yeah, asteroids, actually. So, yeah, continent ones, hundreds of, you're talking about one every few 100 million years. City ones that could really, that would basically wipe out a city, you're talking about one every few 100,000 years. And so the reason why we don't see this so often is because we are 71% covered in water. So a lot of these hits hit water, but eventually our luck will run out. And yeah, and our currently our only strategy of dealing with it is hit the rock with another rock, or rather a tungsten satellite. That's it.
Wow. That's quite difficult, is it not?
Well, we've done it. That was the DART mission, DART. We
I know, but and still, that was quite a difficult mission.
Yeah, it was a marvelous act of engineering, and yeah, and it budged it. It was a proof of concept, but so it wouldn't have been if you had thrown that satellite at something that was actually approaching the Earth. I don't think it would have made enough of effect to save us. So it basically just said, yes, hey, we can in fact move stuff by hitting it with other stuff.
And just as a side thought, how much did that DART mission cost?
I can look it up. I want to say the price tag's probably in the hundreds of millions.
I would presume that, yes.
Mission NASA
And then again,
cost.
we also have to know about that object that's coming towards us.
So DART cost $324.5 million, but it's not really good a comparison. But they say that you have an aspirin costs 5 cents. Well, not really. That aspirin costs nothing. The first aspirin cost millions of dollars. So that once the DART mission becomes, once we start cranking them out, I'm imagining that they would be much more inexpensive. But you're right. First, we need to know where they're coming from. We need to actually see them before we can shoot them with satellites.
Because now I'm misremembering this number. It's a long time ago since I heard it, but like the amount of objects that are potentially dangerous to Earth, the amount that we can see is like minuscule compared to what might actually be out there.
Yeah, so Dan was questioning, how much of that can we see, and I don't know the number either, but it is depressingly low in the sense of the percentage of objects out there that we know of and have been able to accurately plot their orbits so that we know what they're doing. We suspect that there are thousands, if not millions, of, well, probably hundreds of thousands of objects that we are unaware of in one point or another. And yeah, hence why we have pan-stars, hence why we have a couple, only two that I know of, one's US, one's Europe, that are dedicated to trying to find these objects. But I don't think that's, I don't think folks have been taking this problem seriously enough. But people aren't taking climate change seriously enough, so it's kind of along same line.
No, I think it's because the numbers for near-Earth objects, potential near-Earth objects, and climate change is so drastically large, the numbers, that it almost seems like it is science fiction. And I think we've been ruined by science fiction telling us that we can show everything and find everything so quickly, but we can't in reality.
Yeah, mhm.
The Starship Enterprise, you can just press a button and oh look, there is everything.
Yeah, I think there is a problem with time scale. Is if folks don't see it on a short enough time scale, then they don't really believe it. Even if they conceptually or intellectually believe it, I don't think they believe it on an emotional level. I don't think they believe it on a level that prompts them to actually do anything about it.
Yeah, it all boils down to the fact that we're so very very small compared to the universe.
Hmm.
But it just is illogical to think that there is that much stuff out there in empty space where there should technically be nothing.
Well, problem with these asteroids is the asteroid does not need to be very large to have a, pun intended, large impact. Particularly if it's made out of iron. If it's made out of iron, it can really fuck up someone's day with being small. And in order for us to see something, two things have to be true. Well, one thing has to be true. In order for us to see something, it has to be bright enough for our telescopes to see it. Now, in order to be bright enough, two things have to be true. One, it has to be reflective enough to give off light, and two, it has to have some combination of distance and linear size that allows us to actually see it as well. And as it happens, asteroids are small, and iron asteroids particularly are dark. Their albedo is low. So a lot of these asteroids, the reason why we can't find them is because they're small and they're black. Well, blacker.
That is something I do actually know about astronomy.
Mm-hmm.
Funnily enough, I do know some things.
I'm sure you know more than you think you do.
Well, I probably do. Just logicking it out really does help. But those questions you were posting on community posts, I think I did. I think I got 4 out of 10.
Oh yeah, I've been meaning to keep up with that. Which reminds me, I need to put another, or I'd like to put another one up today. Well, today being Saturday. Judy, you're. What time is it over there? I'm like, I can honestly, I don't understand your sleep schedule. I appreciate you seeming to always be around, but it's like, do you sleep? You and Clive always seem to be around no matter what time I go on. But thank you, Judy. Good night, and I hope you sleep well. 47.
Judy, like Europe, or
she's in Norway, if I remember correct. Well, no, is it Norway? God damn it!
If it's Europe,
I think it's Norway. I want to say Finland. Is it Finland? No, it's not Finland. Is it Finland? Sleep schedule. Amen to that. Finland, yes, you're near Helsinki, if I remember correctly. Not to dox you or anything.
That would be 11:48 in Finland.
Yep.
Yeah. Here in Ireland.
Yeah, she says it's 11:47. I'm assuming in the morning.
Oh yes, what's in the morning?
Yeah. Yeah.
Doing my morning routine of getting rid of all the rubbish, the big bins outside.
Nice.
And saying hello to my local squirrel.
Hi, squirrel.
Hey, squirrel. He loves sunbathing in front of my garden because there's no one to disturb him.
63 degrees north. So I'm assuming the sun is still up though, at 63 degrees north at nearly noon. Probably not very high up. I can't imagine it's very high up, but
summertime here, so it would be still quite high compared to the winter times.
Well, yeah.
Well,
let's see, 63 degrees north. 40, that would be 37. 37. So I'm going to just ballpark it as it at noon. It's about 50 degrees above the horizon. I should know this, but I don't know it off the top of my head.
That would probably be right at this hour of the day. I'm not going to go outside and look at the sun.
Oh, speaking of Judy and the Sun, I don't think people have seen this. I just recently got these snazzy lookers. These are eclipse glasses. So while right now I can't see anything through them, if I were to go out and look at the sun, I could see it in all its beautiful glory, and it wouldn't be killing my retinas. So
Excellent.
awesome.
Very pretty cool. Cardboard, right?
Yep, cardboard, and I can't remember what I think it's some kind of mylar. I don't know what the tint is made out of. So.
Yeah, I was getting a pair of them just to go staring at the sun.
Yeah.
And not do a Donald Trump and go, oh, look.
I also have, as a member of the Astronomical Society of the Pacific Solar Ambassador Program, I also have a whole bunch of these eclipse cards. They basically function the same way, but they're not glasses. I just kind of hold up the card and look through it. I had some nice supporter money. I gave them.
Solar eclipse here in not here in the United Kingdom, but in the United Kingdom, because it wasn't too far from Dublin. We got a partial eclipse, but it was down near Cornwall, which is southern England.
Mm.
They were getting these cards with pinholes in them, so that you could see the effect by not looking at the sun, by holding up this pinhole in a card onto the ground, and you can see the effect.
You can do that too. You can do that too. Actually, you can do it using trees. As it happens, if you have a dense enough cloud or dense enough tree canopy, those will also function as pinhole cameras. So,
but I mean, there's always more than one way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. As they say, there's more than one way to
skin a cat.
Not that you'd want to skin a cat, but
yeah, I never quite understood that saying. Skin a rabbit?
What?
Yeah.
I think that comes from a long, long time ago. Cats were probably admonished for carrying the plague.
Yeah.
They didn't understand it wasn't cats or the rats who were doing it.
Mm.
They were just fortunate bedfellows like humans were to things.
Mm.
Rats and cats and cats and rats and cats good for nothing.
Although I have heard once I have heard more than once on the biological side of it. If you've seen a cat skinned and a rabbit skinned together, the only way to tell is by the kidneys.
Interesting. I would have thought by the ears.
Yeah, well, obviously, if you've skinned them, they don't have the ears anymore.
Oh, yeah, I suppose that's true.
And the fact that you can't just live on rabbit meat because there's not enough of a certain something in their meat.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's something to do something to do with the fact of the kidneys. That the rabbits don't have kidneys the same as the rest of their mammals that are out there, and are quite dangerous to just live off. But they're nice to have occasionally.
Yeah, I have never eaten rabbit.
Neither have I, but I've heard that it's absolutely delicious.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. From my mother when she was younger, they would have had rabbit around, and then there was the whole myxomatosis scare, so she basically won't eat rabbit anymore because of that. Even though rabbit that you buy in stores nowadays would be probably free from that disease, but it's a cultural thing. It's the same reason as the English and the Irish don't eat horse meat, but if you go to like Scandinavia, they have absolutely no problem.
Rabbit is a specialty in Malta. Is that what you're saying, Hollywood? Or horse?
A lot of European countries have that problem really important. So when we have this, I don't remember the important scandal about a number of years ago. With the problems with frozen foods, like frozen onions, they were using horse meat instead of beef. To try to save money. The horses they were using were horses that were specified for human consumption. That should be used in horses that are used in humans.
Nimrod, your audio is kind of cutting out.
Let me see if I can fix that. I'll shut up though.
No, it's just your audio was real faint. It was kind of cutting in and out. So it's like, I don't quite. I heard the bit about using horse meat instead of
Yeah,
beef.
maybe if I use the microphone closer to my mouth. Is that better?
A little bit, yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, no, these microphones, I've got new microphones. It sometimes works brilliantly, sometimes not. But yeah, no, they were using horse meat that wasn't designed for going into the human food chain. And there was a massive scandal about, oh, how can you eat horse? How can you eat horse? But here was me living in Sweden at the time, going into shops and seeing beef, pork, chicken, horse. And I was just like, what's the scandal here?
I just don't. I thought horse meat was something you ate when you had to. I just don't understand why anyone would want to eat it on purpose.
Well, why would anybody want to eat any meat off any other animal if you go down that road?
Pigs are delicious.
Well, they are, yes. And from what I've been told, I never ever bought the horse meat because horse meat tends to be, from what I've seen of it, was very fat. And I don't like fat meat. So I never bought it to try it to see what it tastes like. But from what I've been told by people who like fat meat, pork meat's delicious.
Really? Yeah.
It's just, you have to get the right horse meat from the right horses that haven't had these antibiotics that shouldn't be followed into the human food chain because it survives in the animal for a lot longer than other medicines do.
Oh, okay.
You can't just slaughter a horse and eat a horse. You have to know what its lifetime sort of medicine has been because there are these traces of really nasty chemicals that go over, which don't harm the horse, but can harm us from eating its meat.
Makes sense. That wasn't the whole hoof and mouth thing, was it? No.
No, that was a completely different thing because hoof and mouth was cows and sheep, and it kind of devastated the agriculture meat production industry for quite some time. And even to this day, if I go to any other country in the world and try to donate blood, they will tell me to fuck up.
Because of
the horse and the hoof and mouth. That was in the beef. Yeah, because it's the potential for it to be in my blood is just there. Even though I've never eaten any infected meat, they just blanket ban it.
Well, I guess it's easier that way.
Yeah, they'll take my blood plasma because I tried to take blood in Sweden, and when they asked me what nationality I was like Irish. Right? Well, we can take your plasma, but we can't take anything else. I was like, well, what's the fucking point? Because I don't have that blood type that everybody can use, but I have a blood type that an awful lot of people can use. But I can't donate blood outside of Ireland.
Yeah, I'm O neg. I'm O-neg, so I think everyone can use my blood. But I have sadly never donated. I have sold my plasma for cigarettes back when I was an undergraduate, but as far as I was going.
Yeah, I have O positive, so I'm not the one that everybody can use, but an awful lot of people can.
Yeah.
But like I said, I can't donate blood if I'm married. They'll only take the plasma from the blood, and that's it, and the rest will just be thrown.
Mm-hmm.
Which kind of sucks when you're trying to do a nice thing, but it's understandable. It's understandable. They don't want me to be infecting people with foot and mouth disease.
Well, yeah, it does make sense. In a bureaucratic sort of way of we're not going to actually, test. We're just going to blanket ban and just keep it at that.
Well, when I asked them why that was, their reasoning was that the risk is too great, even if my blood is not contaminated, the risk is just way too great to just even bother testing for it. So blanket ban just for the ease of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, kind of sucks though.
Yeah.
But now I'm home in Ireland, so that doesn't really matter anymore.
Sure.
I'll be I will be going in next year now to try and see if I can give blood somewhere. Just because it's worth it.
Yeah, I feel like I should donate blood. Be a good person, particularly since I'm O-neg, but I don't like being jabbed with needles.
Yeah, he does. But I think, considering I'm diabetic, I have to stab myself 4 times a day, and on Saturdays 5 times. So I still hate needles.
Yeah, those needles are way thinner than blood. Because
they still hurt like fuck if you get it in the wrong place in your tummy or your leg.
Yep, I have horrible psoriasis to the point that I'm on biologics. I don't have to inject every day, but there was a time where I had to inject twice a week. So, and yeah, I do remember that you hit that nerve or whatever it is, and it stings like a son of a bitch.
Yeah, and it's not always just the nerve. Sometimes you hit a blood vessel and it starts bleeding afterwards.
Oh yeah.
And because it is, as you said, because it is so fine, quite a lot of blood comes out, although it stops fairly quickly. But quite a lot of blood does come out before it stops.
Yeah.
It's very painful.
Yeah.
Needles tonight. Yeah. Thanks, Rob.
Hey, no problem. Come back anytime. All right, good night.
Oh yes, very nice talking to you. Even though I kind of talk a little bit more than everybody else.
Thanks for joining in.
I think Dan was having a little. I wouldn't say wake and bake, but I think I heard a bong go on him. But yeah, he's in Cali, so it is 2 a.m. there. So I'm surprised he lasted that long. Yes, I'm pretty sure he's probably very sleepy at this point.
One good thing about Ireland is we haven't legalized the THC, which is the bit that gets you loopy, but we have legalized the CBD.
Mm-hmm.
That actually has a fairly good effect on you, on me. Like you have to have it in my vape upstairs. I have to take quite a bit of it to realize any effects.
Well, yeah.
It's nothing like getting high. There's definitely no high from it, but I can feel the calming effect now. It is quite nice.
Yeah,
I wish we just have the take too, but
well, it's the legality in the States is complicated because it's various stages of legal in various different states, but from a federal level, it's actually illegal over all 50 states. So even if you're in a state like California where it's completely legal, if a Fed wanted to bust you, then they could, yeah, you could get arrested on federal charges of marijuana possession, which is just fucking weird.
These companies that legally sell it in the states where it's legal to sell it, they are in a complete and utter red tape nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to make money from it. And I don't understand why federally they have just gone, well, there's so many states that are legalizing it. Why not just remove that from the federal law?
Well, the reason for it is because you would need bilateral support, bipartisan support for it, and you're not going to get it. You know, the Republicans are going to be adamantly against legalizing marijuana. And if you look at this in the United States, the states where it's most legal are the bluest of the states. So those are the ones that states are controlled by Democrats.
So. Yeah, I mean, I do get the political situation. The logical situation is just so absurd.
You're trying to bring logic into government? That's a silly thing to do.
And I'm so surprised in the fact that, considering the fact that Obama was so much in favor, as far as I'm aware, from an outsider from the United States, he was, from what I heard, and I don't know if it's true, he was very in favor of getting it legalized. And his running mate obviously was Biden, and then Biden comes into office and says, "No, football bad. You were running with someone who logically figured out that it wasn't bad, and you want to remove the criminal. You want to remove the criminal from countries. Legalize weed. Everybody keeps saying that it's a gateway drug. Remove the gateway. The amount of tax you can earn from it is massive.
Yeah.
Stop the pushers.
Then
people don't move on to the harder drugs.
Well, I am still yet to be convinced that it's a gateway drug that, people take marijuana and they're like, oh, I got to try the next great thing. Whereas, if somebody is on, if someone goes, I don't think everyone on crack first started smoking weed. Like, I don't see the correlation to that. And yes, it's, if you want to fix the problem that is our prison system, legalizing or decriminalizing marijuana possession would go a long way to do that. But which is probably why Obama was in favor of it. Biden, I don't know. I actually don't know what his. I don't know what his viewpoints on.
Motivation.
Yeah.
No, I know that was fortunate. Not that it really mattered, but one of them down on it. They decriminalize all drugs. So people don't go to jail and they're caught extraordinary using drugs like pot. It's hospitals. They're sent into anti-drug programs, sobriety programs, instead of just sending them to jail. So they're not criminalized, so trying to get jobs after they get cleaned up, there's no bad marks in their file against them.
Yeah.
So that's actually a much better way. Now, okay, the drug is illegal, but you're not sent to prison.
Well,
and the first country in Europe that actually legalized it properly legal was Malta. And that happened a couple of years ago. I remember reading about it in Sweden. So that would have been about 2-3 years ago. They legalized it properly, and they have shown massive drops instead of people using harder drugs.
Did you say Malta?
Yeah, I think it was Malta.
Well, Bellywood would know, I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Malta. Yeah, Malta, because I remember the name going, is Malta part of Europe? It is. Not all of Malta, obviously, but most of Malta. But Malta legalized it properly. Spain had decriminalised, which is quite a big significance.
Mhm.
But I mean, the amount of tax that you could bring in from it, and even tourism that you can get from it. Both,
Sure.
if you just try and think of it from the American point of view, tax, federal government would bring in from having that legal and having.
Well, there again, you run into that there are two problems the Republicans have. So you're talking about legalizing a drug and taxing it. Republicans are not going to want to legalize any drug, and they certainly aren't going to want to tax anything. They don't want to tax cigarettes, but we finally got that worked, got through. To the point that I don't know how anyone affords to smoke in this country.
Well, let me just tell you this: the box of 20 cigarettes here in Ireland costs €16 now.
So
and that's on the cheap. And that's on the cheaper end of the cigarettes.
So a box of 20. So just a pack of cigarettes costs €16.
Yep.
Jesus.
Now it's 15 and change, but might as well be 60. That close to 60. And that's on the cheap end.
All right, for real quick, Bellywood, thank you for being here. Awesome. I hope you.
Should be. Sorry.
I think at this point, I am going to actually shut down the stream because I think it's getting bright enough, and I'm going to do my calibration frames before I completely fall asleep. So, because it is now 5:10 in the morning for me.
I apologize for bringing us away from.
No, don't worry about it.
Astronomy. Astronomy. Let's go talk about astronomy.
that is.
What's your star sign, Rob?
That is quite all right. Well, Dan was talking to me about, flat Earth groupies. I'm like, okay, I didn't know that was a thing. I don't think I wanted to know that was a thing, but apparently it's a thing.
Oh yeah, they're everywhere. I mean, you could even consider Rachel to be one of those.
A groupie?
She's more on the fence now. Yeah, even though she's more on the fence nowadays, she would be one of these people who follows all these papa flirts around.
I don't know about that. I don't think you're giving her enough credit. I do know that she and Dell seem to be of like mind lately, which I didn't see that coming.
I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, considering the stuff that she said here in your chat with you. She does ask some very, very good questions towards being a reality person, where the reality is global. But from what I've been told by other people, and what I've seen from her in other places, which I'm not in anymore for quite some time, those kind of still tend to fall towards the flirt stuff more than the globe stuff.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I actually got her to agree to come onto my show. I think 2-3 weeks ago, and unfortunately, the next week I didn't stream, and then the next week after that, or last week, I streamed, but I streamed too early. I think she didn't show up until the end of the stream. So I don't know. At some point, I really want to ask her. Like that is the number one question I have is why? Because at this point, it's not that she needs to be convinced that that of globe proof. It's she needs to accept globe proof. She doesn't. I know that she has said that she does not accept relativity. She does not, from a philosophical point of view, she cannot accept bendy space time. So I can understand why, I kind of have an answer for GR, but the shape of the Earth, I still don't know why she seems to have a philosophical problem with it. But, maybe at some point.
The amount of evidence that is there, and she just denied it. Okay, she might not be a flirt, but she's a denier.
Yeah, I don't know. Rachie is.
Well, she probably does that for you, Rob. She doesn't do that for other people.
Well, she strikes me as complicated. is what I would say. Is I don't know. Uh, for a lot of the people in this community, I think I can. I've got them pegged. I think I know what their motivations are. I know what their why they believe what they believe, at least to a certain extent. With Rachie, I still have no. I'm still very, very curious as to what's going on there. But anyway,
Yeah. Well, like I said, I give her the benefit. I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, but she keeps removing that benefit from me. When I see her in other places, or I talk to her people better, and they show me things that she can say after I've had the conversation.
yeah,
It's just kind of, what's going on? Okay, you're sitting on the fence, but we've shown you so much stuff and so much evidence, and you just go, I don't believe it. You can't just do that.
well,
Yeah, no.
and I get that, and I know I can science that Matt grew very frustrated with her because there was a time, sometime last year, that he was, and I've never seen him do this really with anyone else. He was making consistent response videos. Essentially, they were having a conversation in video format, and he kept going back and forth with her on it until eventually he basically said, I'm done. I have done the best I could to provide the evidence that she has asked for. She is not engaging with it, or at least not accepting it, so I don't know what more I can do. But on the flip side, she has evolved in her ideas of say gravity, for example. For a while there, she was a diehard RDD fan. Now she will freely admit to anyone that RDD is bullshit. She now has gone into the whole. She is, from my understanding, although I really haven't looked into it, she and Dell are of the same mind in that the Earth is accelerating upward. They're it's kind of a kludgy GR combination, but yeah.
It's just like, how much effort do you have to go through before you realize that she's just not going to change?
I don't know. She has changed. Like I said, she has her ideas have evolved.
And how much effort did that take to get her even that slightest bit of the way?
If she is, obviously I'm here to engage with folks that are on the fence, and I mean, if she continues to engage with me, I will continue to engage with her. So, like Dan, I don't expect Dan to ever leave the flat Earth. Again, for reasons that we kind of touched on in my chat with him. There are reasons why he does not trust the government, and so that pushes him towards flat Earth. But I don't think he's.
I certainly don't trust the government. My government here in this country either, but that doesn't stop me believing in the fact that the Earth is round, because scientists are not the government.
Well, yes, and you understand that, and I think that a lot of people, or from what I have seen on Discord servers, there are a number of flat earthers who haven't really quite made that connection. Is that they think that all of astronomy is dictated through government. Like today, there's a guy on, I think it's Earth Awakenings. I can't remember which one at this point. He's kind of an asshole. He basically says that all Catholics are Satanists. He put out there that something effective. We haven't thought the Earth was a globe, we started thinking the Earth was a globe because NASA puts it out there. And my response to him was, you do realize that astronomy is saying that the Earth is a globe for the last few centuries. Which he, of course, responded with that idiotic meme of all the different cultures showing that it's flat. And yeah.
That's bullshit, because so many cultures, since they first figured out that, well, hey, Earth might not be flat, it way outnumbers the amount of cultures that believe Earth is flat. And the church when what was it? What's his name? That Columbus discovered the Americas. It wasn't because they
Columbus.
believed that the Earth was flat and it was actually short. It was just they didn't know it was there.
Yeah.
And so excuses were made to get funding from people who didn't quite understand what we wanted to do. And so we made stuff up to get funding for it.
Yeah.
It's probably the most logical reason for why he did that. The Earth has been known to be round for so long, and even before it was written down as a discovery, I'm pretty sure people realized that it wasn't. And probably didn't even care that it was flat. Because what doesn't really matter to us in our day-to-day life, whether it's flat or lunch. When I walk down the street, I'm walking down a flat street and there's hills that go up and down. So what does it matter to me if I take control whether what shape the earth is? You know,
Yep.
for science, that's the people, because that's the only reason why physics work.
Yeah. And, well, it comes down. It ultimately comes down to trust. Like for my money, you know, do I believe that germs exist? Sure, because a biologist tells me that germs exist. Do I have any kind of scientific knowledge or evidence or training to tell me that germs are a thing? No. I take it on faith that that biologists aren't lying to me, because I have no reason to believe that they would be lying to me, and that ultimately is what it comes down to. I mean, with the meme thing, I did point out to him that, you know, the Greeks didn't know that the Earth was flat, or the Greeks knew that the Earth was a sphere by at least 300 BC, if not before. I can't remember where Aristotle lived, but or was in there. But the other cultures, the other cultures, I don't know, and I haven't bothered enough to actually look into them because there are so many listed. I'm like, sure, okay, but I know enough about the Greeks to know that to push back on that. Like, people,
okay, yeah, they might have believed the Earth was flat. They might have been that. But they also managed to figure out how to get off bacteria, which they couldn't see.
yeah,
Wasn't paracetamol, or what was it, the Mongol warriors used to carry meat underneath their saddles? Some sort of mold grew, and they knew that mold was actually beneficial to killing off really bad illness, which is why they had it, and why they kept doing it.
Yeah.
They didn't understand what. They couldn't see what it was doing to kill off these things. They didn't know it was causing things, but they knew what here.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you were blind to the fact that the Earth is globe, just things that should work on a globe work on a globe. The things that should work on a flat Earth won't work even on a flat Earth.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, like I said, anyway, I've got to run. So
Yeah, sorry.
no, don't worry about it. It's all right.
It's fun to talk with you on these things because I got to say I'm not slander's my own world, but
Yeah, I enjoyed it too.
Thank you very much for enjoying my
no problem. You have a good day.
You too, sir. I'll see you here next time.
Okay. Oh, so I will start my spiel. Thank you all for being here. For those of you who the one person I think is still on there, maybe Nimrod. The one person who's still watching, thank you very much for being here with me. For those of you who might be watching this and actually watch this for the 3 hours 53 minutes that it's going, thank you again for watching this. Please like, share, and subscribe. I make astronomy and mental health content. If you like that sort of thing, as I said, please subscribe. And yeah, I think the next thing that I'm going to try to go live Sunday for my normal coffee, semi-normal coffee and science live stream, and I hope to be able to post my talk on women in astronomy sometime later today, as in Saturday, or maybe in Sunday. I don't know. I have lots of work to do. We'll see how it goes. But bless you all. Peace out. Clear skies.